It is every father's worst fear to lose a child. And today I sit down with Chance, who is the epitome of a father's love, to learn about his daughter Lily's life. This episode is different than how we normally do it. Viewer discretion is advised, but I encourage you to listen to every word of this podcast. Trent and Friends is filmed in front of a live studio audience. The audience is over here. What's up, audience?
Does that mean we're friends?
Thanks for coming. If you are on Trent and Friends, that officially means that we're friends.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah. I literally told my wife last night, I was like, I might have met my best friend tonight.
Was that me?
It was you.
Oh, bro, hold on a minute. Let's get a little hug in here.
Kiss.
You know, like you don't really meet a lot of people that you just like, there's like an instant, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you probably do that with everybody.
No.
Watch
does.
you, you know?
No,
He does.
I feel that way about you.
You're one of many.
Well, we
Chance. One of
we
many.
just finished a really intense 4 days. I would say day 3 was like an unusual event where we did an activity, and you were I think for everybody here, kind of like the star of the show. Like everybody gravitated to you, not because you were the loudest or the most aggressive, but they gravitated to you because you were sensitive and compassionate, and that became the greatest strength of your leadership. And so that's kind of why you're number one guest on Trent and Friends right now.
Well, cool, man. I just
First walked in, dude, you were like, "What's up, bro?"
yeah. I mean, you're cool as you know. And I had seen that you were, you know, like I'd seen you with Chris already and stuff like that too. So I was really interested in what you got going on. But just about anybody and everybody's here for the same thing, right? We're all trying to grow and get better and learn from others and stuff. So like you come to these and you stay really quiet, and you're gonna get less, right? And so if you like put yourself out there, and I try not to I talk a lot, right? I'm just a talker. I like to talk.
Yeah,
so
nothing wrong with it.
But if you put yourself out there and you become a little vulnerable, we were talking about this just a minute ago, you know? And if you're willing to get emotional and let yourself out there, you'd be really surprised at the people that'll come up to you and will be vulnerable with you. So if you can get it into a place where you feel comfortable, like a room, like we were in a place where everyone was there on the same mission, trying to do the same thing. And so if you're willing to like let your guard down a little bit and get inside of who you really are, like, yeah, maybe what was it? Code Spark? What was it?
Code Switch.
Code Switch?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a code switcher.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I live from the same moral compass, which is like, I try to follow like my North Star, which is like, you know, I feel like morally right.
What's interesting is that the modern world, the modern man, it's almost like your heart is the antithesis of that. It's like, what does it mean to be a macho man? You go after people, you're type A, you know, you're a go-getter, but you obviously have a very successful business trajectory, and you're not like that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I like humans. And I don't feel like, I don't know. I don't really agree with the macho part and like discriminating women and like objectifying women and things like that. You know, I grew up hearing that kind of stuff. We just talked about it, you know, I mean, Levi, I grew up hearing that. Like,
how did you grow up?
My grandpa taught me when I was 8 years old, my grandpa asked me if I had any cat yet. And
when you were 8?
Yeah, I was 8. And I was like, cat? Like, I mean, yeah, we have a cat, Zorro. You know, that was our cat's name. And yeah, I was like, I got Zorro. And he was like, no, boy, you got any of that cat yet? You got any of them young girls there in school? And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, there's girls in school. Yeah. You know, and I just didn't understand. But throughout growing up with my older cousins and my uncles and my dad and my grandpa, they said it was okay to cheat on women. You know, like that's what you're supposed to do. Like a woman is supposed to clean the house and take care of the family. You get a wife to have a partner, you create kids, you build a family, you have a home and all that. And what you do in your extracurriculars, as long as that doesn't come back to the house, is your prerogative. And I was taught that. Like, that's okay. My grandpa was a player, you know, and like cheated on his wife.
Did your grandfather raise you?
He didn't raise me, but he raised me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know? My dad was bipolar. And I went to my grandpa for a lot of relief, and like he's who I looked up to as a man when I was younger, him and my gay uncle actually. But they're who I looked up to as like men, you know. Me and my dad are close now, and we've like overcome a lot of things, but my grandpa taught me that that's how you were with women. So like at a young age, I probably had sex too early, and was into all that kind of thing. And it took me like having daughters, not even getting married really. It took me having daughters after getting married to understand that that little girl is looking at me as the reflection of what a man is supposed to be. And everything changed, you know? And so now
what was the relationship like with your mom?
Mom was the best.
And your dad though?
My dad was an angry man, you know.
They were together.
They split up when I was first in the 4th grade. They got back together for a couple years and then split up when I was about 12. So right there at that puberty age.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. And
But your mother was a saint.
I wouldn't say she was a saint, but she definitely instilled in me that I could do whatever the hell I want, you know, like put your mind to it. Like she gave me the confidence that I have. So I like am very grateful to her. But she was a pessimist, and she looked at like life through like a negative lens, like we're poor, you know, like she used like the wrong words.
Yeah.
Right. And
so what was the dichotomy between you having a loving relationship with your mom, even though that she was negative, and your grandfather saying objectify women?
Well, with mom, my mom always just supported me in anything I wanted to do. Like we grew up, you know, lower middle class. I wouldn't even say like we weren't dirt poor, you know.
Yeah.
We had a roof over our head. There was always food on the table. But like if I wanted to be in sports or like we wanted to do extracurriculars or go travel, you know, that was not available, you know. Yeah. But mom, if I asked my mom, if I said like I want to play basketball,
she'd make it happen.
She'd find a way for me to maybe play basketball. And
That's
like maybe
awesome.
we didn't have the money to like put me in the league or whatever. And that was where the relationship with my grandpa and my uncle came in, because they taught me at a young age, like, well, come work for me this weekend, come work for me on spring break, come work for me on summer. And that's like how I bought my school clothes and that kind of stuff for the school. Or like if, you know, mom would buy me one pair of shoes, but like you get made fun of when you start playing ball and stuff like that.
Sure.
You don't have the hottest, coolest shoes, you know.
Of course.
So they kind of taught me that aspect. But mom was a great woman. She is a great woman.
So how do you walk out of that poverty and that mindset? Like how did you start your business?
I think my first business was my grandparents owned a glass shop, which was like a little bitty, like a hole in the wall glass shop in what we would call Little Mexico.
Okay.
We're in the South Houston. And my grandpa would go to Sam's to fill the vending machines at his glass shop. So when people would come through, they'd be in the waiting room, because he did like window tint and alarms as well in the glass shop, and radiators, weird as it could be, but you know, like, yeah, it was like some silos in the garage bays. And so I would ask him to give me the candy and I'd pay him back, you know, and I would take backpacks full of candy. And that was like my first like hustle, was like going and selling candy at school. And then
You were the kid with the box?
nah, in my backpack.
Oh.
You know, like not like one of those like weird things. It was
Yeah.
just like,
Are those weird things scams?
I
Does
think
anybody
like the
know?
chocolate bars you're talking about?
You must
Stuff like
know. Not a scam?
You said you must. The fundraiser chocolate bars?
Yeah.
You guys think it's a scam? Probably.
It is a scam, right?
Isn't the education
Facts.
industry a scam?
Pull it up.
I think most people do it pay like for like a school trip that they're going on.
Yeah.
Pay, like sponsor me kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a Jewish thing.
We're going there already.
Yeah. All right. So you weren't one of those kids. You had candy in your backpack.
I can't even back. I mean, yeah, and then like
And
it
who
was-
were you selling the candy to?
Everyone at school.
Other kids.
The other kids. And I went to like a middle class school, and I was the poor kid at a middle class school. I wouldn't
Okay.
say I went to like a really rich school, but like
So when people were having their lunches, would you walk around with your backpack and say, like, would you like a Snickers bar?
trying to get some candy, bro.
You
or
would.
maybe even trade some food.
You're trying to get some candy, bro.
Yeah.
That's your opening line. Okay. Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm the candy man.
Okay. All right. So you're selling candy. Okay. Very good. And that's how you made your side hustle.
That was my first little side hustle.
Okay.
And then from that, it was just like anyone else, like, or maybe not anyone, but like the mowing lawns and stuff like that. I had this kid that lived down the street from me named Garrett Supak, and he was a couple years older than me. And he had got his driver's license. He's probably 5 or 6 years older than me. He's got his driver's license and got a trailer and started a little lawn care business.
Yeah.
And I became his sidekick, and was helping mow lawns and all that kind of stuff. And before you knew it, we had probably half the neighborhood, because like, you're going to hire this company, you're going to hire these kids. As long as we could do the same job for the same price, who are you going to hire?
Yeah.
Right. And
So you've been a hustler, entrepreneur forever.
yeah, that same grandpa, about 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
We're driving, turning off a shaver on Spencer, going to his shop from his house. And I spent every weekend just about there, and all holidays. And there was a screwdriver in the middle of a 4-way intersection, like a screwdriver, right?
Yeah.
Regular screwdriver. My grandpa stops like in the middle of the road, puts his truck in park, gets out, goes around, picks up this screwdriver, gets back in the truck. People are laying on their horns, honking at him. I remember it vividly. And he hands me this screwdriver. You never pass up on free money. And I was like, what? Like, I'm a little kid.
Yeah, he did say that his grandfather is from Russia.
Different side of the family.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe.
No, I don't.
Yeah, anyway, gave me the screwdriver and we go back to the shop. And like I said, the shop is in like Little Mexico. So it's like a place where like people come up and they want deals and like this little kind of stuff. And every customer that walked up that day, he cleaned the screwdriver up. He tried to sell the screwdriver to every customer.
Yeah.
Like, who needs a screwdriver just from a random glass shop when you're walking up? But at the end of the day, he sold the screwdriver. And he comes and he gives me the cash for what he sold the screwdriver for. And he's like, I told you, never pass up on free money. And I wouldn't say that it turned me into like this like a hustler, but it opened my mind up to like, he like showed me that like I left the house that day with $0 and I had nothing. I had no skill sets, no nothing, but he gave me something that was of value to someone else. And he was able to exchange that for dollars.
That was the spark of
And it, like,
entrepreneurship.
it kind of like blew my mind.
That's wild.
And
So I want to frame this, that we just finished a social experiment for an entire day. And I wanted you to talk about that experience and then how you became this leader, because a lot of the times everybody just thinks like, yeah, I'm a good leader because I'm type A, dominant, rich, all that stuff. And you took a totally different approach. So let me just say what the social experiment was.
Love it.
Okay. The social experiment was that we took about 30 people and we broke them into groups of 5. And we did it based off of your personality profiles and also what we noticed about you over the last 2 days of observation. And we put people who wanted to be leaders, people who were passive, people who were ultra aggressive, and find out how they would collaborate as a team. So after we did a meditation, there was a white van full of an enormous amount of wood, tools, and nails. And we just said, go out, grab the wood, and build something. And we did that for probably 5 or 6 hours. And we built a structure and it was interesting. Some people built little structures. Some people went to the moon. Some people didn't have they didn't get tools because they didn't grab the tools, or the tools were already gone by the time they got there. And we just observed how the groups built it. And at first, I think you thought it was a race and you wanted to win. But that was 1 hour of 5 or 6 hours. So why was your group the most transformative group there?
I wouldn't know if we were the most transformative group or not.
What was the group dynamic?
We had someone that was a sales rep for a roofing company, but he wasn't the owner.
Yeah.
And then we had Maddie. What is Maddie for you? Administrative?
Yeah, administrative role for a roofing company.
Yeah, administrative for a roofing company. Works with her boyfriend really close. They run the company together and are growing the company. But like y'all had put us together earlier in the day.
That's right.
For like 20, 25 minutes. And like it was talking about the past and stuff like that. So we all got a little emotional. I like digging in people. Like, I'll get really vulnerable, so you'll get vulnerable.
Okay.
And then we can get to know each other for real.
So what was that first 20
level?
What was that first 20 minutes like? Because for everybody else, I think some of them it was just,
Yeah.
but your 20 minutes seemed very intentional.
Well, I thought, yeah, that's definitely what it was for. And my intent, like, I didn't pay all this money to come all the way out here and just You know, I'm trying to do something.
Yeah.
So the main, like, the intent was like to get to know these people on a real level, where y'all said we were going to be together for the rest of the day. I want to know you, want to get like, what's your past? What are you trying to do? What are your goals and all that kind of stuff? And so we had a really cool group, dude. Like Jackson, like told us some things he probably wouldn't have told even his best friends, you know? And like got into himself pretty deep, like 10 minutes in, you know? And it was really cool, you know?
So this other character was the one that talked first and was vulnerable first?
No, I think I gave him like a little piece, and I have been talking already over the 2 days prior to that. So like my story had somewhat already been out there.
Yeah.
And I think so he was willing to share a little bit of his when we were talking, and Maddie told us all about her family and life and what she was trying to do and what her goals were. And so we all just like in those 20 minutes, like I think we all got teary-eyed and cried a little bit, and Daryl came over, and it was like, wow. It was a sweet moment with strangers. And then so like when it got to like, okay, now it's competition time, it's like, well, these are my people, you know, like I know these people. And so I'm thinking like, it's time to get to work.
That's
you know?
right. The interesting thing about watching you and your group, and now knowing that, I didn't know that 20 minutes was that intense for you, but you operated like you were working for your people. Like that was your established family. You grabbed a lot of wood. You were back and forth really hard. I think you were sweating through your shirt before anybody even grabbed
I'll
wood.
be sweating here in a minute.
And it was very obvious that you were like building this quickly for your people. That was unique. That was unique because not everybody rushed out like you did.
Yeah. I mean, well, y'all are saying like, hey, we have this like somewhat contest, and like most of the time a contest has like a time limit, you know?
I didn't say contest.
It felt like
I was very intentional to not say contest.
it felt like a contest. Like you put us in groups, and you had us name teams. And when you have a team, that means you're playing for a team, and my team is supposed to win versus your team.
Sure.
Yes, that is a contest.
He's just putting it into his head. It has to be a competition.
It was very intentional that it wasn't a competition. You didn't know what you were building or why you were building it.
If you didn't tell me to name my team, I would have agreed with that.
Interesting. So the team naming thing was actually an interesting part of the social experiment, that was supposed to be a collaborative moment. If one person only named the team, not all the players would have participated, but the goal was the 20 minutes preceding should have merged the teams enough to communicate. And then by the time they named the teams, it would have been collaborative, and you would have each had a piece of your identity as represented in the team. That was the part of the social experiment that moved people forward.
I think I didn't want to waste any time.
So we did that. We had a moment when we were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about, but when we were talking in the 20 minutes, we were like, oh yeah, like winners.
Yeah.
I can't remember the context of it though, but we said that. That's why we were
It was
like,
very
oh.
natural that like the three of us together were like the winning combination. You know, like we felt that we were the winners. Like, you know, like even like I went home and like I'm here with a coworker, and I'm talking to him, and like the way that their 20 minutes and 25 minutes went compared to our 25 minutes was like way different.
Yeah.
You know? And so I just felt that like we really connected pretty quick, you know, where a lot of other people, definitely you get three just like, you know, taking Rob, for example, you know, you get 3 A-type personalities or a little bit stronger personalities in the same group. And that's just going to kind of be a little bro out session at first. No one's going to really want to like get into something. Like there's going to be a lot of broing out and like, what's up? And then like maybe someone will go deep, but it's not going to be deep. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, what do you do? How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? What are you up to? You know, it's not, that's it, you know? But Jackson was, he's a tall, big guy, but he was soft. And you could feel it. And then, you know, we had Maddie in the group too. It was like, it was just you know, we had like a different vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how Jackson said, he was like, dude, usually I'm the leader. And like you had the aura about you that he was just like immediately okay with you being the leader.
Yeah.
That is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, because I think he did want to be the leader.
That's why I asked him to talk.
But that is the mark of a very good leader.
Yeah.
You as the leader, the clear leader, put somebody else in a position to fulfill their dreams. Even though everybody knew you should be the one speaking.
I wouldn't have thought that everyone would have thought I would have been the one speaking. I did say I like to talk a lot, and so if anyone needed to talk, I can talk. You know. Yeah, I make it obvious.
So, if you don't mind, during the build, you had this. You were the one who started building the quickest. You were hammering everything. You were defending your team. You wanted to win for them. And then we took I think 20 minutes to talk about greatest fear. If you could write a letter to your child, what would it be? Or your future self, what would it be? Past self, what would it be? And everybody did a quick sentence, but you took maybe 20 minutes to talk to your team in the corner, and that changed your pace. You went from being, I'm going to dominate this build, to, hey, other characters, here's how you hammer this. Are you comfortable sharing what that moment was like?
I mean, yeah. What part? Like, what do you mean? What do you want to talk about?
The moment that you think bonded your family, your community.
Well, at first you said like write a letter to our
Past self,
and like your biggest disappointment, your
Yeah,
first
failure.
your first failure. So like naturally, I'm like, man, this third grade basketball team, our first loss. I cried for like a week. It was horrible. You know, I was so upset. I wasn't the best on the team. I was like number 2, but like,
what position?
Power forward. You know, never the tallest. There was always like a Rob that was a little taller, you know, but a good power forward.
Yeah.
You know, I could box him. I could box him out if it needed to be. But that was like my biggest. But then someone else came by and was like, "No, your biggest like disappointment. You know, what is it?" And my biggest disappointment is that I couldn't keep her alive, and that it's a really, really big disappointment. I play the scenario over in my head probably twice daily for the past 2.5 years, and so that's what I wrote down. It was a really simple situation, or a simple sentence, but it holds a lot of weight.
And this is your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter.
Shared it with the team.
Yeah, I shared it with the team. Like then people wanted to know, and I'd already kind of shared it. Do you want me to go into like some details?
Only if you want to. Or we could skip past it and talk about
we have time.
I do want to say, dude, when he said that speech, it's like when you said like the guy who doesn't cry and stuff. That's like me. It's like just I was trained into me since I was little. Like my dad was a commands man.
Same.
Like you don't cry. Like this is what you do in the Marine Corps. Like there was one time where I like kind of broke down and like my staff started to grab me. He was like, "You need to pump man up and put him to the enemy." But when you told that story, dude, it was like it broke me down.
Yeah, it was tough for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to share it.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Okay.
I think it's a powerful story. I think she was a powerful person, and she only got to be here for 7 years. And I mean, the name on my hat, and we started a foundation in her name, and 2 companies in her name. And it kind of has a full circle meaning into the story too. That's pretty unique. My wife and I, our favorite place to travel, never traveled internationally or anything, but we used to road trip. Our honeymoon when we got married, we hooked up to my 26-foot tongue trailer, you know, and we just went on a month-long excursion across the country and stuff. And that was kind of like, we loved to road trip and just go check out new places and stuff. But our favorite place in the country to go was South Lake Tahoe. And South Lake Tahoe used to be called the town of Bijou. And Bijou was the name of this little town. And so when we had our first kid, after we got married, we named her Lillian Bijou. And Bijou means jewel in French. And my youngest daughter, her name is Charlotte Dior, which Dior means gold in French. And I can't speak a lick of French. But my wife took all four years of high school. She did French. And we just think it's a beautiful language. Yep. Well, Dior means jewel. Dior means gold. Bijou means jewel. And so like to me, these are like my precious metals and jewels, you know, these are my precious things, you know? And so it was just a unique name, but so we named Lillian after the town of South Lake Tahoe, little town called Bijou. We moved to Northern California on an excursion to grow medicinal marijuana and get into the recreational marijuana business, cannabis business. right before it went legal, we got out there in 2016, 2015, and then it went legal in 2016. And I had opened up a cigar lounge trying to figure out like the tax laws. I thought they were going to be really similar, cigars and pot. And so anyway, we lived out in Northern California, 8 weeks premature. My wife's pregnant, 8 weeks premature. She gets diagnosed with something called high drops, and her body fills with fluid overnight. So she gets up to go to the restroom, and she's like, Chance, I think there's something wrong. And then my ass walks in there, and I'm like, what's going on? And I see there's just like wet everywhere, just like, you know, everything's soaked in the bathroom, and she's like crying and things are going on. And I don't do really good in hospitals and like sickness situations, and I fainted.
How long were you out?
She says like 10 minutes, you know, and then she's like so disheveled herself. And she's like, what the fuck?
Did she call the police in that 10 minutes or the ambulance?
No, we lived like, she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know it was her water broke. She's like, she's swelling up. She's just scared.
But why no ambulance?
We lived in the middle of nowhere, bro.
Okay, got it.
We lived in the sticks.
Got it.
You know, like up in the redwoods. I think the town, it was called Cazadero, California. There's 365 people in the town. You know,
right.
Tiny little town on this little creek bed or whatever, and like, you know, I'm thinking I'm gonna like have my firstborn baby. I'm gonna wear her in a tula and be out there watering my pot plants, like live this cool little chill life, have a joint in my mouth. You know, like the show's gonna be chill and cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It was gonna be great, but it just didn't plan out that way. So, water breaks. I come back to, and we're like, we got to go to the emergency room. So we call we didn't even say we have to go to the emergency room. We call our midwife. And we're like, hey, this is a scenario. She's like, I'll meet y'all at the Santa Rosa hospital, you know, and it was right by their midwifery. So that's where like the backup plan was if anything even went wrong at the midwifery. So we go over there, and as soon as we get into the emergency room, it's whispers, you know, like no one is talking directly to us. Like they're not giving us any answers. We don't know what's happening. A couple hours go by, and they're like, the high drops. And we're like, so we're Googling, what's this high drops thing, you know? But they're not trying to deliver the baby. They're trying to slow down the pregnancy. Can't remember the drug, maybe like Pitocin or something like that. They're trying to slow things down, not speed things up. And you could tell we're at a smaller hospital, Santa Rosa, California, not a big city, but 160,000 people in there, so decent hospital. But and then they finally come, and they tell us like, hey, like we don't feel adequate handling somebody with high drops, and so we're gonna transfer you guys to the city. And we're like, are we gonna life flight? Or like, no, we're gonna take you guys down in the ambulance to San Francisco. You should call your family, right? And our family doesn't live there, so that was like, oh, okay. So, but they were giving us no information. So we're scared, you know, we're young, we just got married, we're living out in a different state, we don't know anybody, got no family, no friends, no support system. And so I call my mom. My mom was on the first flight at like 5 a.m. Before we even transferred from Santa Rosa to San Francisco, my mom had already flown from Houston to San Francisco, rented a car, and drove up. By the time she gets there, the ambulance that they wanted us to go in, and the little caravan had showed up, and we're going to do a transfer.
Okay.
I didn't want to leave my dog at a Great Dane, so I hauled butt home to go get my dog. And my dog comes in the back seat of the truck, and I follow the ambulance down to San Francisco. And when we get to San Francisco, again, like, I mean, my wife is huge. Like, she was pregnant, but now she's like huge.
Because she's filled with fluid?
Fluid, you know, and filled with fluid. So they tell us high drops is like, more than likely the baby is filled with fluid too, and she's filled with fluid. And then all right, we're gonna do details because it'll just make the story like the real story. Yeah.
Okay.
So then the doctor that was there originally, I guess, leaves. The new doctor comes on and tells us the plan, and the plan is pretty much we're gonna wait. our midwives are there and everything. So I guess the assumption was because we had midwives that we wanted a natural birth. But there was no, hey, we think this is better. Let's try to do a C-section. Let's do this. Let's do that. It was like, no, we're going to slow the pregnancy down, try to slow the baby from coming out, try to let things settle. And we're just going to have the baby, you know, like normal natural birth. And we're not thinking anything different. We're just like, hey, we're in the hospital. They just transferred us from one hospital to a bigger, better hospital in the big city. Trust the doctors, right? Like anyone and everyone would and should in that situation, you would think. So that's what we did. By this time, family starts rolling in. Everyone's flying in from Houston mainly, and people are starting to get there. And by this time, like we're getting like real rambunctious out in the waiting room and all this kind of stuff, because you know we're a bunch of Texans in this California, San Francisco hospital. And they finally tell us like it's time. It's like she said she's at 7 centimeters, I can stretch her to 8. She's at 8 centimeters, I can stretch her to 9. She's at 9 centimeters, I can stretch her to 10, right? And then like thinking about those words like stretcher, right? Like seemed a little bit off in retrospect, thinking back or whatever.
And is your wife's demeanor at this time like,
My wife's,
is she afraid? Is she like, hey, we're going to get through this? Is she like,
she's scared.
she's scared?
Yeah, I mean, it's our first kid. We're out there like with nobody, and then her sister finally makes it and stuff like that. And like because of the high drops, we already knew that Lilly was going to go into an incubator. Like they had it in the room, and there were 17 hospital staff in the room during the delivery, because I guess this high drops thing is a bigger deal, and like we still don't understand what it is. You know, it's kind of a rare thing when you look it up, and we're just, you know, what the hell is happening? And so all these people in the room, they stretch her out to 10 centimeters. So now it's time, you know, it's go time. My wife's being a champion though, scared, but like, I mean, she's just tough as nails. Like we're gonna get through this. I think I cracked some like really bad jokes. I told her something about like she was the better brother. She was Peyton and not Eli. You know, like, and like you're gonna kill this. We're gonna get more Super Bowls, whatever. Yeah, I was just like trying to like keep her calm, and she's like, "Shut the f- up." And I'm thinking jokes are the way to like solve things, you know. And you know, you probably are similar to that.
Yeah,
huh?
for sure.
Yeah.
Not to detract from your story, but my wife and I, when my son was born, also a natural birth. I had this idea that I thought would be funny, which is I packed a lot of different costumes, and I was going to do like performances, like different kind of characters to keep her like animated through it. I put on a tie and glasses, and she was like, leave the room. She also had midwives and a birth coach. But yeah, like in our minds, we're like, hey, we can't be there.
I can't help you.
So I was going to do like a thing. I had like a soundtrack. I was going to do like a show, and I had prepared. So I never got
best friends.
Yeah, dude, I never got to finish the set. But
A full set.
a full set, yeah. But I bombed. It was like when you're a kid and you go to your like your parents for like, is this okay? And your parents give you like the eyes, and you're like, okay, I got it. That ain't happening. Yeah. Okay. So you're trying to bring levity.
just trying to lighten the mood, you know. I get sick in hospitals, you know, like it's always been a known thing. My dad's dad died, and I was in his lap in the hospital, and I was a really young kid. And so from then, every time I walk in a hospital, I faint. Like there was something about a smell, and I could smell yellow. I can't describe why it was yellow, but I could smell yellow. And like it was a weird.
I feel that.
I have no idea even what that means, you know. But
It's like a thing. What's the name of it? Yeah, like Google it. It's like some kind of thing where you could like taste colors or whatever. What is it?
yeah.
Synesthesia. She graduated from Columbia.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have never heard that diagnosed or anyone ever even
Okay,
like agree with
synesthesia.
me. Yeah, so I
Also associate numbers with colors, and that's when they're like the math savants. That's how they do that.
What is a
Why are you
mastodon?
so smart?
Never mind.
Bro, Columbia.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, there's
Graduated from Columbia.
graduated from.
Thank you guys so much for like trying to like or navigating this like really hard conversation into a lighter one, you know. So very appreciative. But yeah, so at this point, I'm trying to crack jokes. I'm up by the head because I didn't want to be down there at the bottom, you know? And then the midwife is kind of in the middle, kind of coaching. The midwife and the doctor just really aren't getting along. You know, like it's a really big, you could feel the tension in the room, which sucks in a situation like that. You know, it's not a calming energy. The midwife's doing her best, but then she's combating this like very angry woman that's supposed to be delivering our baby that we've never met. We're scared shitless, you know, we don't know what's happening, what's going on. We just been like transferred from one hospital to the other. We're supposed to be waiting, slowing down the birth, but they're stretching her out at the same time to have the baby. So naturally you only dilate, like I said, 10 centimeters. I mean, we all know the size of that, you know, and then naturally a woman like to give birth, things open up and like the baby passes through. But Lily was swollen. She was full of fluids as well. And, they wanted to flip her. They thought she was, what was the word when the breached, when they're the upside down? Anyone else? Am I upside down in the birthing canal? Breached? I think it's breached. And so we spent an hour and a half flipping Lily over to where she wasn't breached and she was facing the same way. So that means this woman is sticking her hands up inside of Julie and rotating her hands. And Julie, if you watch this, I hope you're okay with me sharing all this. But so she spends an hour and a half rotating Lily for a better passage because like it could be cause injury. You know, if she's breached, facing the wrong way. Then she starts crowning and all that stuff, and they can't pull her out. And now at this point, we've been going on for hours. Hours, yeah. And then she starts just kind of like pulling. Yeah, so she starts pulling. And pulling some more. And pulling some more. And the midwife is like, hey, why don't we try to change things up? And why don't we put her on her stomach? And why don't we like get her on a yoga ball? And why don't we do this? And like, there's this friction still, you know? And so the midwife is like not getting through, starting to get angry. And the other midwife there, Jasmine, was on the other side, and my wife's sister is at the foot of the bed watching everything, who has 4 kids of her own, 3 kids of her own, two step kids. So she's watching. She's done this before, but this is her baby sister that's never done it before. And she keeps pulling, nothing's happening, so she pulls out the forceps. And then with the forceps, she's pulling and Lily's still stuck. And they finally get the head out and the shoulders are stuck. And then so she says, I'm going to break the arm. I'm going to break the other arm. And then she puts both feet up on the edge of the table and she's sitting in a chair and she just yanks and yanks on my baby. And then it becomes utter chaos, and all these other doctors start running into the room. These alarms and these sounds and these announcements all start coming on to the speakers, and you're just like, you never done this before? Never even seen a birth before? You don't know, is this right? Is this wrong? Am I in the right place? Is this how it's supposed to go? You don't feel like it is, but you don't know at the same time. And so she's just yanking on my daughter's head and the shoulders are stuck, but she's able to break the arms and pull the arms out. And so then she just calls it and she cuts my wife, but the other way. So not a C-section, but the other way. And they finally get Lily out. And they take her to the incubator and she's just limp and she's black and blue. And the midwife is yelling at me, Chance, she needs to know that you're here. She needs to hear you. She needs to know that you're here, that daddy's here. I wasn't gonna do this, but yeah. So she needs to know that Daddy's here. So I just keep telling her, Lillian, I'm here. Sorry. And I yell and I scream, and they cart her off immediately. You know, it started with 17 people in the hospital, and then our few family members and the midwives. So there's probably 21 people in the room in a small little delivery room, and then they wheel Lily down, and like, what do you do? Like, do I stay with my wife who was just hurt and she's crying and she just like brought this baby, or do I go with the baby? Like, who do I support? And they wouldn't let anyone else go with the baby, so I have to leave my wife. And so I go with the baby. And there was a miracle woman in that room. And her name was Dr. Richardson. And they put an x-ray on Lily because they needed an incubator so she could breathe. And when they go to put the x-ray on her, the whole room just goes quiet. All the doctors, all the nurses, you just hear a grasp and the air lets out of the room. You know those moments?
Yeah.
And they pull up the x-ray, and I'm standing, you know, and I'm not as tall as Rob, but I'm a little taller than most. And so I'm like, what the is that? And they show the x-ray, and you could see she had about, you know, a little over a 3 centimeter gap. So about an inch gap between her C5 and her C6 vertebrae. And because she was stretched for so long and so many times, that her spinal cord came out of that gap in her vertebrae and looked like a cooked spaghetti noodle floating around in the inside of her body.
So this was not from the high drops. This is from the doctor.
Yeah, so she was internally decapitated.
From the doctor.
From the doctor. High drops was just fluid, and the doctor didn't do her job. And if you're wondering, we sued them and lost to a jury. And the one guy fell asleep on the jury. We waited 6 years to get to court with these people. One juror kept falling asleep. So the end of the trial, they let him go, and they brought in an alternative. And the alternative had a baby from the same doctor with a good birth. And this doctor had, I mean, we could look her up, Dr. Rachel Shue, San Francisco, CPMC Medical Center. And you look her up, and she has an unbelievable amount of 1-star reviews. But we didn't know that. You're not looking up the doctor. We did look up the hospital to make sure we were going to a good hospital when we got transferred. But after that, we were just like pretty flustered. But we get down to the pediatric ICU. And luckily the hospital was known for that. Like where we went, CPMC, they were good with, you know, sick babies. And that doctor just wasn't. And Dr. Richardson was, though. And I saw this lady do like precision. She put chest tubes in both of Lily. They couldn't move her because her neck wasn't connected, or her head wasn't connected to the rest of her body. So they couldn't move her, but they had stretched her so hard that they ripped open her lymphatic ducts. So she was draining over 2,000 cc's of fluid out of her chest tubes every single day. So she laid like that for 90 days before and then when they consulted with the Stanford pediatric neurosurgeon, Dr. Grant, OG. He's at Duke now. Super cool dude. But Dr. Grant consulted and came over there, and he was telling them, well, he had never seen anything like this, and neither would anyone at that hospital. That's why they brought him up from Stanford. But he couldn't roll her over to fuse her spine back together because of all the fluid in her body. And it wasn't from the high drops. We thought it was in the beginning. That hospital tried to tell us it was, but it wasn't until we actually transferred to Stanford that we found out that the fluid in Lily subsided. Like the high drops was gone immediately. All the fluid was from her lymphatic ducts being ripped out, you know, and that's why she's swelled up.
At this point, is Lily like conscious and crying, or is she
Nah.
like, no?
Lily's just laying there. Just no movement, not a peep. But there's a heartbeat.
And your wife is?
My wife's up in the room, and I'm down there by this myself. I think one of the midwives ended up coming down there and hanging out with me for a bit. Now I couldn't really get anything out of Lily, but they kind of were like coming up with a coordination of care plan. So I sit there for hours while they do all their hospital stuff and get her all dressed up. And again, we're in like a pretty big PICU, like a pediatric ICU. There's a lot of sick babies in there, a lot of premature babies for the most part, some little bitty babies make you like so damn cute, but like super sad at the same time. But they're all together. And Lily has the center of the room, and they put all these walls up so nobody can see her. And she has constant doctors all around her. And they knew they fucked up. They knew they fucked up. Later that night, I leave finally, and I tell her I'm going to be back. And I still hadn't gotten any vibrations out of her. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel her. I don't know if she could feel me. She wasn't hearing me. She wasn't talking back to me. And I couldn't get any cries out of her. And so later that night, and after the dust kind of settles, I go up and I get Jew, and I put her in a wheelchair, and I roll her down. We're going to go visit our baby. It's about midnight. We go down there, and it's really dark and quiet and peaceful, and as peaceful as a NICU could be. And can't touch her, can't hold her, like you can't have that skin on skin, that first feeling. You know what I'm talking about. It's a great feeling. And so we open the little hatch on the incubator door, and I'm sitting right here, and my wife's right behind me on my left shoulder. And where the way Lily's neck was broken, she was cocked to the left-hand side and stuck like this, and her nose was broke. It was moved over to the side of her face, and her eyes were bruised, and the right side of her face was caved in. And I just said, "Hey, Lillian, Mommy and Daddy are here." And she opened her left eye, and she looked into my soul. I looked at my wife, she looked at me, and we looked back at Lillian. Not a word was spoken. And we knew it was time to go to war. It's time. Like, this is your baby, that's your kid right there, and she's looking at you, and her heart is beating. So, she's alive. After everything that she went through, she is right here with us. And the world can't stop her. Those doctors, the evilness that comes into our world every now and then, and I know the majority of us are good human beings and good people, but there are evil people in this world, and I truly believe that. And I think it might be the devil's work, but I'm not too sure. That's just my opinion. But she looked at us, and we just knew. We didn't say anything. We sat there for hours, and I read her stories, and I read her books, and she kept that eye open. She was just looking at me. My wife's big into healing and vibrations and crystals and, all that. And her sister's really big into it, and her sister had all these stones she had brought. They let us open up the incubator and put these healing stones inside there. And we played 528 hertz. It's like a healing sound wave. And we played that. And I left my phone in there so it could just play it round the clock. Plugged it into a charger. And we just played this healing vibration for her. And we go back up to the room, and we have a little bit of a talk about what the just happened to us. Like, what's happening, Like, all right, well, tomorrow's a new day. Like, maybe she's going to be okay. We don't really know. I know her neck's broke, but like, she's alive. Her heart's beating, And I could go deep into the story, and I could talk for hours. So I'll try not to do that to you so we can get through all this. But so now you get like the complexities of it. And from you know, I'm an entrepreneur as a child, ambitious. I want to work for myself. I want to make all this money. I want to have a family. I'm going to give them a life that I could have never dreamed of as a kid. I'm never going to tell them we're poor. We can't afford that. You know, we can't go there. We're going to live different, you know? And so the next morning we go back down there. No, it was that night. I couldn't sleep. We go back about 4 a.m. and I go back by myself. Julie finally falls asleep. And so I creep back down there to go sit with my baby for a little bit. And there's a bunch of suits, about 15 of them, standing around her with talking to the couple doctors that are on. And they tried to kick me out. And I'm like, kick me out? I mean, that's my kid. You know, like, y'all might work for whatever building we're in, but that's my kid. Like, I'm coming in, you know, and they tried to kick me out. And I, like, literally told them, F off, you know, like, I'm coming right here. So then they, like, all kind of congregate to the back, and, like, you could just all the whispers, you know? And then that's when I knew, like, oh, they know they f***ed up, you know? Morning time comes around. Me and Julie go back down there, and at this point, they call this care conference where we have to meet with all the doctors, all the specialists, and come up with a plan, right? And they're like, we're going to do this once to 3 times a day while you guys are here, a care conference. So we go into a big meeting room with the neurosurgeons, the pediatrics, all the different surgeons and doctors and specialists and all that, filled up room. And every time I talk to a doctor, every time I talk to a nurse, every time I walk into a room, every time we walk into this care conference, they tell you that most parents wouldn't hold on. Most parents wouldn't. You should probably let her go. She's not going to be in a good place. She's not going to be a normal kid.
Is that what they told you?
Every time. I'm talking about every doctor, every nurse, every time I walked around. Every single time. So my stepdad, he's a professional bodybuilder, big old bald, big dude. Cop, 40 years. I told him, hey man, like, will you go to one of these care conferences with me? Like, I think I'm gonna lose my shit. You know, like, will you just be there as like a good witness? Like, yeah. I don't know if I can handle him one more time. Like, I'm getting to my point, you know? And luckily he was there because I kind of held my cool. But they asked me again, and I just stood up and I grabbed a chair and I flung it out the window.
Out the window?
They didn't go out the window, at the window. Okay. I wish it would have been so much more dramatic. I was really hoping for it too. Everyone was shocked. Everyone stood up, and everyone's just like, at this point, like, looking at me like I'm crazy, you know? And I'm like, your kids, any kids, any parents in here, you know? People have kids, you know? Like, am I the only one? Y'all have kids. This is my first one, but like, your kids have beating hearts. If I told you that most parents would let them go, what would you say? F off, right? Well, f off. Like, this is my kid. Like, she has a beating heart. She looked at me. She knew that I'm her dad and that's her mom. Like we're here, you know? Don't ever ask me that again, or we need to be transferred out of this hospital immediately. And then so from that point on, we didn't have to have the conversation of that. But to like speed up and amplify the story, they held us there until we could do the surgery. And then after the surgery, we moved.
The surgery was to fuse her
spine back together. Well,
and she's how old at this point?
No, she's 3 months old.
So you're dealing with this for 3 months.
Yeah, and so every 2 hours, a team of 6 nurses, doctors, and respiratory therapists would come, grab her tube, put their hands underneath her body, and just lift her up in synchronicity and just hold her up for 5 to 10 minutes so she wouldn't get bed sores because you couldn't move her. And they were really worried about the bed sores.
And you and your wife are living at the hospital? You're at home?
Living at the hospital.
You're living at the hospital?
Yeah, living at the hospital. We lived in a hospital for 2 years.
For 2 years?
2 years, 13 different hospitals across the country. So at that point, we go to Stanford. Stanford's really great hospital, like really strong. But the continuity of care there was really odd, and I won't get too heavy into it. But, you know, I call it God-like complex. not quite like your game, God mode or whatever. But these doctors and these surgeons, definitely the bigger and the more renowned the hospital, they have this God-like complex. Like they really feel like they are the smartest, best thing there was. The hardest part about that is when they only work a 12-hour shift, and then the next person, and then they might only work 3 days in a row, and then it's the next person. So every time a godlike complex surgeon or doctor who's in charge comes on, the care plan changes. So there's no continuity because he's smarter than the doctor before.
Sure. This is how I would do it. Is what they say, right? This is how I would do it.
That was a good idea, but we're going to do it this way
Yeah.
now. And so like there's just no continuity of care. Well, I mean, they did their best, but like as Lilly started to get, I wouldn't say better, but she's on the ventilator now, her spine's fused back together, and they tell us like the only way that we're never gonna take her home, we're gonna have to go to like, I don't remember what they called them, but it's like a hospice for children. They wanted us to go to one in Saratoga, California. So they send us over there to view this place. And we're thinking like, oh, this is like a retreat for little special needs kids or whatever. And you go there and it's like a death factory for children. No one's parents are there. No kids are taken. These kids are like on ventilators, sitting in rooms. They're by themselves. And it was the saddest experience in the world. And like, they wanted us to go there before the transfer. And we're just like, what? Like, absolutely not. And the lady's like, okay, are you ready to like sign the paperwork and we'll get the ambulance? So I'm like, you think my daughter's coming here? Like, she just had a spinal cord injury. Sure, like, we're going to rehab. Like, get online. You ever read an article before? like she had a spinal cord injury. We're going to rehab. And they're like, no, but like babies don't have spinal cord injuries. There's no rehab for babies.
So everybody in the hospital and everybody in your life was essentially saying, I know it's your kid, but just
I had some,
put her in hospice.
Yeah, I wouldn't say everyone in my life. It was the hospital forcing us to hospice. A lot of my family, a lot of friends. I remember my best friend and his wife even had an argument and got in a really big fight because one of them said they would have let her go. And one of them said they would have kept. He never told me which one he was. He's a good friend, but he never told me which one was which. But a lot of like my cousins, family, like people I was really close to, I never heard from or talked to ever again after that because I think they just disagreed with the decisions that we made or whatever. And so at this point, we're like, well, we're not going here. We got to go to rehab. And it's kind of a unique story, but I had, before I even knew Nick, I'd owned like this little production studio and we were building this studio out. And like, so by this point, we're like, I don't know, 6, 7 months, 8 months into the hospital stay, you know? And they're like, well, we can't send you home. You got to be trained. You can't go to rehab. What are you going to do? And so we had sold a job and we were going to go.
You're still working.
I'm trying, kind of, you know, like I own multiple businesses.
Your wife is living in the hospital?
We're living in the hospital.
You're going to work?
No, I'm not going. I'm staying at the hospital every day, but I had sold this bigger job and it was like at this big vineyard in Napa. And they needed multiple shooters and we didn't have multiple shooters. So John's like, can you want to break away for a couple hours and come shoot?
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I don't know how to record on a camera, but yeah, he's like, I just need a second shooter, bro. I'll put it in auto. You just hold the thing, walk around the event and it'll be cool. You'll get out of the hospital. So I go shoot. And I had been at this point right before this calling every pediatric rehab in the country over and over because they weren't getting us in. So I was making probably 50 to 100 phone, like cold calls a day. Like, hey, I'm Chance Forman. Like, this is my daughter. We're at Stanford. I need in this rehab, like blah, 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 blah. So much so that by the time I would call after days and days and days, oh, hey, Chance, we've already told you. We know who you are. We know what's going on. Like, we just don't accept babies, like, you know? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, just because she's a baby, I don't understand. Like, she needs to go to rehab. We got to figure this out, you know? And so anyway, I go to this event and it's this Chinese billionaire and he owns this vineyard. And for some reason or another, he had kind of heard the story through the grapevine from, I guess, whoever I had got the job from. And he was like, oh, do you know Dr. Sun? And I was like, yeah, I've actually called over there. I'm trying to get in her, Dr. Sun. Well, Oakland Children's had just been acquired by UCSF, which is a good hospital. And he was a super doctor on Forbes for giving like one of the largest surgeries, put in a catheter and stood up for like 42 hours straight, giving this crazy surgery. Like a Forbes super doctor.
The doctor put in the catheter.
Yeah, and himself. So he could just piss and not have to stop the surgery. Like,
that is a super doctor.
Yeah, super doctor. And like, God, I wish I would have had that guy from
Yeah.
birth. Come on, So somehow he tells me us to stay. He was like, hey, I'd like to talk to you after the event, it'd be really cool to talk. And so we get to having a conversation. He asked me about Lilly, and so we get into talking about it, and I'm really trying to get her into rehab. And he's like, have you tried UCSF? And I was like, yeah, I call him about 25 times a day. There's only like 6 pediatric neurosurgery or like centers for spinal cord injury in the whole country. Mainly really just 4. It was like Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore, or Denver. It was really our main choices, but Oakland had a slight pediatric and it was close.
At this time, is Lilly is she like conscious? Is she with you?
By this time, like Lil's had her spine fused together. She's on a ventilator. She's cognitive, and you're like playing with her. We had this little like ladybug plushie that somebody gave us that was like on a keychain, and we hung it above her, and she could like even like raise her arm. She had use of her right arm, but not mobility of her right hand, and she would like play with this ladybug. So we called her Lillybug because of that. And like Lilly was just cool, and she was doing like music therapy and physical therapy, occupational therapy, somewhat at Stanford.
So at this time, are you thinking like, hey, we're on the upswing?
We're on the upswing, dude. Like
Okay.
I'm trying to get my kid to rehab. We're gonna get better. Like I know we had accepted like she'll be in a wheelchair and more than likely on a ventilator for the rest of her life, and that's cool. It's not a big deal. Like that's just my kid. Like
And-
your kid's good looking young stout man, and my kid's in a wheelchair and on a ventilator, and there's really no difference. Yours is just yours and that one's mine, and like we were totally super acceptive. Like we were like, that's just our kid. And like I tell you, me and my wife, from the moment that the eyeball happened in the incubator that night, we never had a discussion about this. So now we're 8 months in, and there has been no talk of what are we gonna do,
Right.
because it was just like unspoken, like we're just like,
It's your baby.
we're in, dude. We decided to do this.
And now if you lived at the hospital for 2 years, it means that Lilly was...
Well, we're still 8 months in at this
Okay.
point, trying to get into a rehab program. And the Stanley, this billionaire that owned this vineyard we were shooting or whatever, was like, Doctor's son over at Oakland Children's, I just donated $1 million to them last week. Let me call him. Here's his cell phone number. And that's where he up. Because he gives me this super doctor's cell phone number, So now I'm blowing this dude up.
Right.
And text message him, not getting nothing back. And then finally one day he just answered the phone like, who are you and what do you really want? And I explain. And we had this really cool pulmonologist that owned her own practice, but she was over different hospitals. It didn't matter that they weren't together because she was like a pulmonary specialist, and she was Lilly's pulmonary specialist. And she was at Oakland Children's as well. So she was advocating for us to get in there. And now I had the neurosurgeon on my direct line. And I'm like, yo, Dr. Sun, like Lilly's got to come over there. She's got to be your patient. What's up? And so we get her in.
Is this like the first victory?
This is like a major milestone victory.
Okay.
Like woo-ha. We're actually leaving the hospital. We're going to a hospital. We're still gonna live in a hospital, but we're going to rehab, baby. Like we're just getting better, like shoot, Lily's smiling and she's happy as could be. Like she's a kid,
Right.
She's just an injured kid.
Right.
She's not a sick kid. There's nothing wrong with her. Like her neck was broken, so that messed up her ability to move her body, but she's still there. She's cognitive, but because of where the injury was, it's from the neck down. So luckily we got that right arm, and that when I told y'all about the hook today, the hook is a big deal, bro. It's a real big deal. She's happy, and we're gonna go. We go to rehab into Oakland. Things are good over there. And then from that point on, we just kind of like started chasing the best rehabs. Like we had got everything we could out of Oakland. They're like, hey, it's time to go home. And we're like, go home. Like, what does that mean? And at this point, we were kind of living in the hospital, but I had the place way up in Cazadero. So I ended up getting a place in San Francisco so we could be a lot closer. So we were going from San Francisco down to Palo Alto every day once we got transferred there. But now that was closer when we started going. But it was in San Francisco. And if y'all know the San Francisco, it's like a really hilly, narrow thing. It's not really made for kids in wheelchairs and stuff like that. And like, how do you bring her in? We were living in this like 3-story, like little townhouse type thing, you know? So I got to find a 1-story handicap accessible house, you know? And then, so that brought us back up to Santa Rosa where she was born, just simply because it was the first house that accepted me with my Great Dane. That was 1 story and I could get my kid in, you know?
Yeah, right.
And I'm looking at like all these surrounding cities. I don't even care. I just need to get, like, they said we're going home. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to find a home I could bring my kid to. It was like, we couldn't, like, they weren't going to transfer us back to Austin.
This is so Lilly at this point is how old?
8.5 months old.
8.5 months old. And you
Yeah.
get to finally take your daughter home.
I get to finally take my daughter home. We find a little spot, go up to Santa Rosa, take her home. We're so scared. We had to get trained. 3 people had to be trained on the ventilator. So my mom had to fly out for 2 months, stay at the hospital or come every day to the hospital with us because we all had to have ventilator training before they would let us go home. So then now mom has to live with us from California state law. 3 people have to be trained in there to do that. And we have no nursing because nurses can't, like, are harder to find for kids on ventilators, you know? So it was difficult. So it's just us. So now we've been in the hospital's taking care of the baby. We're just getting to play mom and dad, but now we're like the doctor, the nurse, and the mom and dad, which is fine. But now we sleep in the room with the baby every night. We're scared to sleep in our own room because we don't
Just
want
like
something.
the first time that
Your
your baby's born,
we're right there. And so then now I'm looking for a real rehab program to get in. And Kennedy Krieger, which is connected to Johns Hopkins and Baltimore, is going to let us in or whatever. But we have to find a way to get there. And air ambulance won't take us because we're not in a hospital anymore. She's already been discharged. And then, like, people even were like, oh, we can get you a private jet and this kind of thing and the other. But then the jet owners or the pilots would be like, it's too much of a liability. So we couldn't do it. And we're like, well, I'm scared to travel. You know, you're talking about, West Coast to the farthest East Coast. You know, it's a pretty big travel. It's like, I don't want to drive. There's a lot of like middle places with nowhere. So we take a train. And we rent one of those like cabins on the train, and all 3 of us get on there and we cross country a couple days on a train. We stop in Cleveland Clinic, Rainbow Children's Babies in Cleveland. We actually stopped in Chicago, which was really cool because like we took Lilly around in the wheelchair in Chicago and stuff like that. And they had handicap taxis back then and we could even get around in the taxis. It was pretty cool. But then we go to Cleveland and she gets this thing called a diaphragmatic pacemaker put in. She was the youngest kid to ever have this diaphragmatic. And what it was supposed to do is like send electrical shocks to like get her thing going on. Anyway, so I can get into all that kind of stuff. But then we make it out to Baltimore. She goes to rehab. And then from then on, it's just chasing like specialty hospital and home. And so by the time we landed in all the places, my youngest daughter, Julie got pregnant. So my youngest daughter was 20 months younger. So
Julie got pregnant again
Julie got pregnant and was
during
pregnant
this time
while we were in Baltimore.
Okay.
She's about 6 months pregnant. Yeah.
We just hit our first win.
Oh,
You
yeah.
moved into the house. You got the dog.
Shoot, got the dog back. Oh, dude.
You're
Not
on the
only to mention that, like
You're on the train.
My poor dog. I had a Great Dane, a blue Merle, Great Dane, beautiful dog, best dog I ever owned. She died at 12 years old. Never bought another dog because I just couldn't have another dog like that dog. You know, she lived that first month in the truck in the parking garage on the roof of the hospital. A Great Dane. Rolled out, cracked the windows every night. She was sleeping there. I'd go get her. We'd walk around. She'd piss on the roof of the parking garage because it's all cement around there. Yeah. That was my best. Yeah. That was my road dog.
Can't talk, but they give you that.
Hadley. Yeah. And Hadley was just a man.
So in addition to your daughter being in the hospital, you have a dog living on the roof of the car. You're running a business.
Roof of the parking garage.
Sorry.
Not quite the roof of
Sorry.
the car, but that would have been fun.
Roof of the parking garage. You're running a business. You're taking care of your wife and your daughter, and you're not giving up on anything.
Yeah, not giving up on anything.
You're not giving up on the dog. You say, hey, I'm going to let the dog go back to the pound. You're saying no.
Dude, when he said he went back because he was worried about his dog. It's
Right.
lesson to who he is.
Right.
All the that's going on, he's like, I gotta get my dog.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, well, because I knew I was going to San Francisco, I was be stuck, and then like, who's gonna go out there and take care of my dog? You know, like,
Shows
so
your heart.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we got my dog, but yeah, that was I left that part out, but she was a good dog, and she lived in that parking garage like a G. You know, like didn't take no. Nobody ever complained or nothing. So. Yeah, at this point, we had made it. She had got the diaphragmatic pacemaker. She's the youngest kid to ever be in the rehab program. It was Kennedy Krieger Children's Hospital. It's connected to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and they were freaking amazing. It was amazing, but it was really wild. I'd never been to Baltimore, and Baltimore's kind of hood. Yeah. And they would only let one of us sleep in the hospital at rehab. And by this point, you know, I'm pretty deep. Like I had some money, I still had the businesses, but I'm like running short, you know, like I'm pretty stretched out. I haven't been to work. So if we want to segue this back into business later, right? I haven't been to work. The businesses, the real estate, I had a cigar lounge, I had a coffee shop, we had a smoke shop, I had all these businesses and things like that. And like they heavily relied on me. So like not only was I in the cannabis industry out there, but I was doing all these businesses in Houston. So I was always on a plane back and forth, and they like really survived on me. But now here goes 8 months, 9 months, and I haven't been to work. You know,
right.
I did that one little job because John was like, hey, you want to get out? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get out of there. I'll go help you shoot or whatever. And like, I was trying to figure out how to keep making money out there or whatever. So
we're on the up and up right now.
we're on the up and up, man. And like, if I wouldn't have done that job, I wouldn't have got into Oakland Children's because Stanley wouldn't have connected me to Dr. Sun and all these things. And then now we get into Kennedy Krieger. We've already had the diaphragmatic pacemaker. They had dealt with one other kid or a couple kids, not one as young as Lilly. Another kid younger has had one since then. But what it was supposed to do was like give her electrical pulse to pulsate her lungs to get them to breathe, because the goal was like to hopefully get her off the ventilator. So we were going to do like therapy for that, and then some like physical therapy at this rehab there in Baltimore. And now it's like, I wouldn't say a story of, it's a story of wins, right? Because we're out of here. Like we're out of the hospital. It's us. We got a family. I f***ed up and got my wife pregnant again. Was not planned. You know, we're like, oh, what are we going to do? I remember asking my mom, like, hey mom, what do you think if like me and Julie were going to have another baby? And she's like, I don't know, you know, like that'd be probably maybe good down the line when you guys we're already pregnant. So, you know, she's like, oh, you know, so so Julie's pregnant, hospital, Baltimore, you know, what is that? We were at Santa Rosa, CPMC, Stanford, then went to UCSF. So we're at Rainbow Kid Babies. So that's our fifth. And so now Baltimore, and then we got to go to the emergency room. So Baltimore and Johns Hopkins are our 6th and 7th hospital, right? And 9 months into life or whatever. And so at this point we're like, all right, rehab is going great. They had never worked with the baby as young as Lilly. She's just doing good. You want to distract a kid, and this is like a cool story to the testament of Lilly. Lilly loved good music, and like she really loved like strong male vocals that were really pretty.
What was her favorite band?
I would say
Metallica?
no, like pretty. It had
Okay,
to be
pretty.
Like pretty. You're
Okay.
like symphony. So like what it started here was like, instead of playing like YouTube and trying to distract her and like, you know, Mickey Mouse or anything like that, they would play Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And
Yeah.
And so that like is what distracted her. And so people would come in like, who's playing Queen, you know? And it's like, oh, it's the 9-month-old baby over there, you know? She just loves it.
Lily
Yeah.
liked Queen.
And she would just be lit up. Sam Smith, Harry Styles, like that kind of music was like Sam Smith before he got weird, you
What
know?
would you see though when you would play the music? What would you see her light up a little?
Oh yeah, dude! Like big smiles. I'll show you guys. Well, I'll send you some photos. You can clip them in if you want, because she was the greatest, you know. But she just had this like magnetic, electrified smile, like ear to ear, and like the worst part about it is she was this beautiful girl, but she laid on her back so long that her head got flat, you know, really flat. And then so that pushed her like jawline forward. So then she had like this flat, fat face. So I used to put my hand back there and I'd be like, you old flathead, you know, like just mess. Oh, that shit's the best. You know, so yeah, and we're in Baltimore. Lily's doing good.
Your wife is pregnant.
Your wife is pregnant.
This is with the second daughter, Charlotte.
Charlotte, who is
And was there any like questions about her birth?
I mean, obviously scared. Why did we do this? How did we do this? It was like, well, you know how we did it. But like that was like one time, you know, like
Yeah.
for real. Like there wasn't a whole lot of intimacy during this whole time. So it was like, damn, that really happened. Like, you know, and we were a little upset about it, but you know, we're happy.
You got a strong seed.
Yeah, we're happy as shit now, but you know, it was scary at the time. And so, but at this time, like things are going bad, like no systems, businesses rely on me. I'm kind of out of cash. Everyone's stolen from me, robbed from me, all these things. Back, the cigar lounge was actually really dope. We had like a thumbprint scanner, you know, on it and stuff like that. And so it was one side was retail and a speakeasy door in the middle. And then I ended up renting the place next door and turned it into like a 24/7 lounge for members. And it had lockers. You could keep your booze in there, go in there, smoke cigars, bring a friend. You just scan your thumb and go in or whatever. And I spent a lot of money, like 7 figures on a place I didn't own, just doing the build out and like paying for inventory. Yeah, like right at $1 million, you know, and spend this much money. It was beautiful. And like we get compliments and all this stuff. And like within the first 6 months of me opening that, I had 2 offers for people who wanted to buy it out. And I had started it for my dad, who was a cop, and he was retiring. And I was like, dude, anything you want to do, I'll open a business. And so you can stop being a cop and it'll just be like your retirement plan and we'll do it together, you know? And I wanted to open up Second Chance Goods, like a Second Chance retail store, you know? Cause I sold a lot of like garage sale, you know, it was like one of my little side eBay hustles. And he's like, I don't want to sell Second Chance Goods. Like that sounds like, you know? So I'm like, all right. Well, I don't know if there's much money in cigars, but sure. You know, so he wanted to do a liquor store. And we ended up like cigars were our thing, like New Year's. So we ended up opening a cigar lounge. And one of the guys that wanted to buy it, like one of those guys that does like 24-hour emergency clinics or whatever, and he had them everywhere. And he'd always pull up in his fancy, you know, McLaren, whatever, those kind of cars, was that kind of guy. And he offered to buy it for over 7 figures, like really early on. He was like, I just want it because it's right next to my house. I come here all the time. It'd be a cool retirement gig. And I know that you've already put that much money into it. So like, you know, it's here, it's established, it's making money, and I'll make it better than you. And I'm like, I'm going to turn it into a franchise. You know, this is going to be huge, you know?
But also you're running out of cash and you need cash to,
well,
your daughter's life.
this is kind of a little bit before then when things were still good, but then things started getting bad, right? And I started running out of cash at this point. So that was just a little backstory. And so then I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm like, I have no more cash left. The businesses are kind of starting to fail because I'm not traveling back there anymore. The inventory on the shelves is thinning out and everything. And I'm like, man, what are we gonna do? And you know, my house at this point is in California. I'm with my family in Baltimore, and I'm literally watching, you know, my main business was, you know, cannabis, and like you couldn't bank with cannabis. Like,
right.
So it was a cash business. Even if you were doing the legal stuff in there, growing, selling dispensaries or whatever, it was like, there was no banking and stuff. And so like, you know, what's the play here, Chance? You know, I got no money left really. starting to sell what little real estate I owned back then, because that was the only thing producing money. I go back to this guy and I'm like, hey, bro, you still want to take that offer? I'll sell it to you now. And he's like, we're all watching what's happening, dude. And I'm like, yeah, like, so you want to help me out? Like, I'll give it to you for 80% on the dollar of what you offered the first time. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to wait for you to fail and I'm going to snag it up. And I was like, you know what I'm going through and all that. And he's like, I do, but it's business and you'll learn about it soon enough. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I ended up failing and he snagged it up, still owns it to this day. But moral of the story, I guess the impact of that story was I get down to like my real last dollars, you know, a couple $100, you know, and I was like a multi-millionaire by 24 years old doing what I was doing, you know, so I'm not used to not having any money, you know, like that's odd for me. And so I'm like, well, what am I going to do? My wife's like, well, why don't we just move back to Texas? You know, we're almost out of rehab. The program's out here. We could probably get into Texas Children's or move back to Austin and go to Dell for a little while and then look for, like, get some help from family. Like, we hadn't had no support system at this point, you know. Her dad came and lived with us for a little while. My mom would stay with us for a little while. But so, like, all right, we could do that. And so I'm going to fly back to California. I'm going to pack up everything I can and where are we going to move? And like, my parents worked for me at the business that was failing. Her dad lives with her sister and all her kids and stuff like that. So like, where do we go? There's no room. So who do I call? My best friend in the whole freaking world, my baby sister. My baby sister has a Great Dane as well and this little German Shepherd mix named Tinsley. And she had just gotten married to my brother-in-law, Brandon. And yeah,
Like at that point, like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? Like you're down to your last couple $100. Everyone, like you said, your parents are working in the business. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with everyone relying on you? Like like when you go to bed at night, are you like?
Yeah, there's not much going to bed.
How do you deal with that then? Like, most people just they cannot work. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
just the weight of the world on your shoulders.
so, and then like we get into this part later in my life and stories. And like, I think probably a lot of you in this room, I have a different perspective when it comes to money. I grew up poor, but money's attracted to me. It likes me. It wants to work with me, you know? And I truly believe that. I could lose it all tomorrow and I'll just find it back, you know, and just like I could figure it out, you know. It's the same reason I'm here with this thing is like I'm kind of in a startup phase and that's why I'm with you guys at NLP and stuff. It's like I'm just trying to figure out another way to like, you know, get back to kicking it. So I never like, even though I was broke, I knew I wasn't going to be broke for long. It was just look, what's the next best thing? And when Lilly broke her neck, I hired lawyers literally the third day after that. I interviewed a bunch of lawyers and stuff like that. And like after I saw the suits, you know, I was like, oh, like, you know, we got to go after them or whatever. And where was I going with that?
He asked you, how did you handle the weight of the world when you've lost your business? You're down to your last couple $100 and you're trying to keep it together.
Yeah. So, man, I knew that I could make it back. So I wasn't really worried about that. I think the biggest stigma was that I couldn't move how I normally moved because I have this kid that can't move like a normal kid moves, you know? And like it was like, you can't call mom and say, hey mom, could you come watch Lilly so I can go on a date? So I can go to the grocery store, so I can do anything. Like it's me and Julie 24/7 watching this kid. But so we wanted to go home, you know, like if I could go home and I could get a little bit of support because we were having a hard time finding nurses in California and we just missed our family. We were pretty lonely at this point, you know, and now at this point, Lily's about a year old. We've been in Baltimore for about 3 months, maybe a little longer. Yeah, maybe, I think we had stayed home for a couple months. So I think we went out there at 11 months. So Lily's a little over a year old. And I'm like, if I could just get some help from family, I could get back to work. But I had started to lose all the businesses and all that stuff. I've got no money. I sold what real estate I had. All my business partners and friends and people I thought were robbing from me, you know, stealing from me. Oh, I didn't know you that much, and all these, this, that, and the other. Even some family that some second tier family I had done some business with me stole almost 7 figures from me, well into the high 6 figures. And just you know, it was kind of an under the table deal. And they were just what are you going to do about it, pretty much? Even though they know, because that's you know that there's good people and bad people in the world, you know? But yeah, so I'm just all right, if I could just get some help, then I can do me, you know, I could do me and I could take care of my family. But definitely I'm beat up, you know, I'm feeling less of a man. I'm a husband now. I'm a father with another one on the way. I got this kid that's disabled, and all I want to do is support them and give them what they want. But I'm losing all my businesses. But the moment I had hired the lawyer, he asked what I did for a living. And I told him, you know, I'm in cannabis. I have these other businesses. He was like, if we go to court, I never want to hear that word again. I know we're in California, we're in San Francisco is where the trial is going to be held, but I never want to hear the word again. So I called all my connections and all my things, and we owned lots of acres and farms and all this kind of stuff. I gave my farms to my best friend, said, sell them. If you could give me some money, I'll take the money down the road. If you could get rid of them, or if you want to hold on to them, just give me my share, maybe in piecemeal or something. But I'm out. I have one friend that took care of me a little bit for a little. He's still one of my best friends. He's crazy and goofy as dude. And Nick knows him. But,
And the remainder?
I wouldn't say he helped me a lot with finances, but he always helped me.
And the remainder?
Nah, not a whole lot, man. And so,
Do you have resentment towards them, or do you forgive them?
man, that's all on them. You know, I don't hold any place in my space for them. You know? Yeah, there's no, man, hate's tough, you know, and I feel where I'm getting to the point where you hate somebody, you know, I don't know how people feel about that word, but man, that's a lot of emotion to hold on to. It's heavy, you know, that's a lot of burden. Love feels good. That doesn't hold you down. That doesn't hurt you, you know? So I got all the love in the world, you know, but yeah, hate's heavy. So no, I don't really have any hate. My wife still does. She's getting better. But yeah, I have no resentment. It is what it is. And I'm always going to be good. You know what I mean? And so,
Lily's 1 year old now.
yeah, Lily's over 1. I get a flight. I go back to California. I don't know anyone out there except my little camera guy that was helping me start Chance to Inspire, which was I started reading. I read my first book, Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. And it was on an Instagram ad or whatever. And he was a real estate guy, Tony Robbins, best friend or real estate dude. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but it was one of those buy this, get the free book, or pay for shipping, get the book free. And I had never read a book. This was what came out yesterday. I'd never read a book front to back except for Hank the Cowdog in the 3rd grade. You know, I had done Cliff Notes my
Chris
whole
like that. Chris was hate the cowdog.
yeah, my whole childhood, I got by without ever having to actually finish a book, through Cliff Notes or just you know, just getting by on tests or whatever. But anyway, I read this book and I'm I'm gonna get into personal development. And that's when the whole business coaching and everything started. While Lily was home in Santa Rosa, I got into this Peter Voogd, I think was his name, and it was Game Changers Academy, and that was my first coaching. And then I was in Brendan Bouchard's thing, and I was just looking for I'm gonna make money online because I'm stuck in a hospital. And so it became how am I gonna figure out to make money? You know, all my failing, how can I make money? And so I put up a Craigslist ad. This is right before we left to Baltimore. I put up a Craigslist ad, and I owned that studio. Me and my business partner had a falling out. So now I have all this equipment. We had a drone and a DJI Inspire with the 2 controllers. So one guy could drive the drone and one guy could fly the camera. So you get some sick shots. This is a while back, you know, like before the newer like small drones got cool, you know. And I think I paid $7,000 for that thing. It was a big old bulky thing, and it had like a Sony FS5 and like some good gear and all this good camera for like back then, you know. And my partner had left, and I didn't know how to use it. And I'm like, I'm gonna start this personal brand. I put this ad on Craigslist, say, hey, I got all this equipment, but I got no money. If you want to use the equipment, you can have it, use your own thing, but I want you to make these videos for me. And this kid hits me up and he's like, I can do it. And I'm like, where are you at? And he's like, man, I live around the corner. I could skateboard over right now. And he freaking
That's very Craigslist.
Yeah. Yeah. And he skateboards over right now. And 10 years later, he's sitting in that chair right
Is
there.
it really?
Yeah.
There you go, dude. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, man. So Nick is in college at a JUCO,
Wow.
and he comes over, and I remember I had this little camera and I documented it, and I got lost, but I documented the train ride and like the whole journey, and I lost the camera with the SD card and all that stuff in it or whatever. But Nick was going to make me some cool videos, and I had called my little personal brand Chance to Inspire. And it was really like, I don't even know if it was a personal brand. It was really just me documenting Lily's journey. And like, it was a journal that I put online, you know, it was like me just documenting like, hey, I'm really sad today. Here's my story, you know.
Does it still exist?
It's probably still there.
What do you search on YouTube to find
Probably
it?
Chance to Inspire.
Chance to Inspire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah. I never deleted it or anything. It's probably an Instagram, a YouTube, all the things.
Yeah, put it in the video.
So we try this Chance to Inspire thing, and that was how I was gonna try to make money. But at this point, I have enough money to get a plane ticket to go back to California, and we had made the decision we're not gonna take Lily back to California. We're gonna go from Baltimore back to Texas, and we're gonna move in with my baby sister and she had just got married, her husband, their 2 dogs, my dog, my pregnant wife, and my handicapped child in this 3-bedroom house. You know, I'm like, we're just gonna be one happy family, you know? And here I am, who was like this dude, like I gave my sister, we didn't come from a lot of money. So like, I really helped like pay for her wedding, pay for like, helped her get a deposit on her first new car, like all those kind of things. She's my baby sister. I took care of her and stuff like that. And then full circle, she was able to give back to me and give me a place to stay and all that stuff, and just cool as shit. Me and my sister had never been in a fight. We were like really close. It's like actually kind of awkward and weird. Everyone
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, everyone talks about it. That's like but she's the best. She works with me. She is my right hand person, and like I would be nothing without her.
What's your sister's name?
Taylor. Yeah, Taylor.
Shout out Taylor.
Yeah, shout out Tay, dude. You're the best. So Taylor and Brandon both give us a place to stay. I fly back to California. I don't have a lot of money, like I said. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a house all right, I got a 3-bedroom house here, but we're moving in with my sister who has a 3-bedroom house. What are we going to do? So we decide to get rid and sell of everything except for Lily's room, so that we had all Lily's medical equipment and everything that she needed. So I have a F-250. I rent a 6x12 U-Haul trailer, and I load up everything in that house. I have no one to really help me. I think Nick comes over to help me a couple times. I give Nick like my TV, the camera equipment, like anything. Like
Again, Craigslist.
yeah, take it, bro. I remember that I had bought this, like it was probably like $5,000 like sectional couch, and like back then it was like that was a big purchase. It was nice. Like we loved this couch, and it had like a pull-out bed in it. And by the last night there, I had given everything to Goodwill and sold everything I could on like Let's Go and Craigslist and all the things. Like I'm talking pots and pans, my shoe collection, like everything that I own, clothes. Like I had no room, so we just packed up Lily's bed and like enough clothes for like a bag. My wife's like piano, my wife's like heirlooms, like if it couldn't fit, it didn't come. And I got rid of a lot of things. It was very sad for my wife because she's quite the hoarder. She's sentimental. She holds on to a lot of those kind of things. And so I was, it's painful to know that I had to get rid of her things. But yeah, we got rid of everything. Like when you sell like your pots, pans, dishes, like everything, we're down to nothing. And took the medical equipment, I slept in my truck that night because I loaded the U-Haul and everything. I spent,
Your dog with you?
huh? Yeah, I have a dog with me, but we had a cat. His name was Sookie. He was a cool cat.
Like from True Blood?
Yeah, bro. No one's ever.
Dude.
Hadley.
Was it
too.
a good looking cat?
Hadley too.
Hadley,
Hadley
yeah.
was the cousin of
Yeah,
Sookie.
that's, I know.
Hadley
Listen,
and Sookie. All right, True Blood. No one's ever caught on to that. That's
well,
really great. All right, so
That's a culture guy.
he is
Yeah.
a culture guy.
Sookie. I remember that.
Yeah, oh, Bill.
I was like, I want to be a vampire just for her.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so I load up everything. I sleep in the car. I have I made offer up. You're not making any real money. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what am I gonna do? I got enough money for gas and to get back home, and hopefully I got enough money to get a plane ticket and all that kind of stuff by the time I make it back to Texas. And the next morning I go to get up and I can't find the cat. I can't find the cat anywhere. So I called Julie. I'm like, dude, I've been looking for 2 or 3 hours. I'm so tired. I'm packing. Got this whole thing. I got to get out of here. I got to go to Texas. Got to get back to you guys, And she's like, just leave it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave it. And then I get 2 hours down the road and she calls me and she's like, you end up finding Sookie? I was like, no, I left her. And you left the cat? Oh, you weren't serious. Yeah.
Is that true?
It's really true.
And you left her?
Yeah, I left the cat.
Okay.
And she's still mad at me to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sookie found the neighbors. She ended up coming back. The neighbors got Sookie. And then they found a nice little family in Petaluma, California. Sookie lives a nice life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So the arc here is that you are a multimillionaire at a young age, and your daughter, the hospital internally decapitates your daughter. Then all the money that you had and the resource that you had, people are just waiting for you to fail so that they could buy your businesses for cheap. You lend land to your friends, and one of them helped you out a little bit, and everybody else, you didn't hear from them. You move in with your sister in a 3-bedroom apartment. You leave your cat, who then has a nice house.
Yeah, the cat has
You have a couple $100 in your pocket. You're investing in online courses to figure out how to make money.
Yeah, reading books, Tony Robbins, Brendon Burchard. I'm never been in this personal development world. I always thought I was pretty personally developed.
Sure.
So now I'm like, all right, I got to go develop myself and become this better human or whatever. And I end up making it back to Austin, get moved in and everything. I have $300.
Okay.
$300 gives me enough to get a plane ticket to Baltimore. Now I got $20.
Okay.
And I'm in Baltimore. My parents work for me. Don't really have any other resources to make any money or anything like that. And what am I going to do? I got 20. How do I get my pregnant wife and my daughter, who can't fly on a plane? I can't get in a car with her. We got here by train. How do I get back? What am I supposed to do? I call my favorite uncle in the whole world. Shout out Uncle Troy. I'm like, hey, look, here's the situation. Uncle Troy has no kids. I was always his favorite nephew. Sorry to everyone else, but everyone knows it. I was his favorite nephew, and he always took care of me. And I said, hey, man, I'm in a bad spot. And I don't know how to admit this because I feel like I'm the one that takes care of people. But I don't have any money. And I have to get home. So within a couple minutes, I got $2,000 wired in my bank account. And so I'm able to buy the train tickets to get back to Austin. And then it was the same weekend the hurricane hit Harvey. And so it wiped out a bunch of the train tracks and all that kind of stuff. So then we got stuck in Fort Worth. But on the way back, Lilly, the train hit a brake line. And the condensation would build up in the tube. And when that happened, the tube backflowed and it went down into Lily's lungs. And she had a drowning spell, So we had to pull the emergency brake. They stopped the brake and we're in West Virginia. And what do you want to do? I'm like, well, call the freaking ambulance. And then the ambulance comes and we got Lilly on an ambu bag and we got the oxygen cranked up. And we're just what are we going to do? And it wasn't the first time this had happened. This had happened numerous other times, since we had gotten out. So it was an emergency situation, but we're in Podunk, West Virginia. And it's man. And so the EMS gets there and their eyes are deer in the headlights, you know, and like you're the EMS and they're looking at this like pediatric little baby on a ventilator and they're just going, it looks like you guys are doing a good job. You know, like they don't jump in to help. They're just like standing there looking at us like, oh, like we don't want this kid. And we're like, when are we going to be to the next town? Like, where's the next big city, you know? And like, well, we're going to be to Chicago or somewhere like that, like pretty darn soon before we head down south or whatever. And like, take us there. And you could see the conductor of this train is like, get the off my train, you know, like I don't want to be responsible for this baby. And we're like, no, I'm not going with these folks, you know, we're not getting that ambulance, ain't happening.
Yeah.
We'll ambu her, bag her the whole time. Like we need to get to a city with a real hospital, whatever. Anyway, we ended up getting Lilly like stable on her own, didn't have to go to the hospital, lucked out. Train thing happened, or the flood thing happens. We get stuck in Fort Worth. Again, call my Uncle Troy. He hops in his truck, takes off to Fort Worth and picks us up, and we load up in his truck and finish the drive back down to Austin. Go live with my sister. About 2 days later, I want to go have lunch with my uncle and tell him that I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like want to pay you back. What's the payment plan? How are we going to work this out? You know, and you know, that turned into a really weird conversation, you know, it was just about like his business and things. He ran a small little glass company and stuff. And then we started talking about marketing and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, if the window broke on this place, how would they know to call you? And he was like, well, I'm sitting right here. And he went to the same place every day to eat and have beer. Like all his employees knew if it was 11 o'clock, you know, he was at the boat eating oysters and drinking Dos Equis, you know, every day. And so he's like, yeah, I mean, I fixed 25 windows in this place over the years. They'd call me and I'm like, okay, let's say the place next door that didn't know your name, you know? And he was like, well, I don't know. And so I pull out my phone, you know, and like look him up real quick. And I'm like, bro, you don't have a website. You have 3 Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
You're not even listed on Google, you know? And I'm just like blown away. Like, where are you at? You know? And he's like, why don't you come over there and work for me? And I'm like, oh, no, I ain't going to do that. You know? And I was like, I'm going to go sell. I'm going to go be a salesman for somebody else, and not have any responsibility. You know, like my job is just sell. You know, I was good at selling pot. I'll be good at selling anything else. You know? So the goal was like, I'm just going to go sell something. I ended up getting this really cool job, or like an interview for this really cool job. And it was going to be to sell planes and yachts. You know,
You'd be good at that.
You know, like some big ticket stuff to like some big. And I was super excited about it. I was like, oh, some high ticket. That's gonna be awesome. And anyway, my uncle's like, when do you start? And I didn't start for a little while. And so I'll work with you, and I'll come consult for a little while. And then I was gonna go do a little consulting for my uncle, and then that turned into me taking a job for $45,000 a year, and I got stuck there. And then that's what brought me back into the freaking trade business. And at this point, Lily's living there. We're in rehab. We tried to go down to Texas Children's in Houston, but the rehab program wasn't there good. And then I work in the glass business for a little bit, and then Lily overheats in Texas.
What does overheats mean?
We went out in the summer. It was too hot, and because of where her injury was in her neck, she couldn't control her body temperature from the neck down. So Texas was hot. You get into a car, but really we went down to the lake. We stayed in a condo. One of my other uncles was just like trying to host us and be friendly because we were back in town.
How do you know she's overheating?
Temperature rises, heart rate rises. She's on a blood pressure, you know, like we see her all those things. She's on monitors all the time, you know, so heart rate's going through the roof. She's turning beet red and stuff like that. Temperature spikes. And so she's overheating. And then we're just like, man, what the like Texas sounded so good. Like we're doing good. We're finally getting back on our feet and we're figuring things out. I just started like taking over the business for my uncle and stuff like that. And Julie's like, well, we can't stay. And so then we decided to move to Colorado. because they had a rehab program there, and like, oh, 4 seasons, that'll be nice. There's a spinal cord injury rehab, you know. And I had been friends with the dude on Instagram out of Phoenix, and he had a glass company. I had a glass company. We would talk back and forth and stuff like that all the time. He would help me, I would help him. And I was like, hey man, like I'm headed out to Phoenix or to Denver. I know you just opened a second location. I'm either going to go over there and open up another like glass company and do another one up there. Maybe we could partner or something. So I ended up like getting into sales with him, and we moved Lilly again up to our next hospital, up to our next place.
And at this point, how pregnant is your wife? How far along is she?
Lily's born. Or Charlotte's born.
Charlotte's born.
Yeah.
Charlotte's born. No issues.
No issues. C-section.
Healthy.
Healthy is
C-section.
good. Like,
Okay.
like right to us, you know. Like, we did the surprise on this one too. Like, didn't know if it was a boy
or girl. Okay.
Yeah. She was supposed to be named James.
So what was the moment like? Obviously, you had a.
How'd you get the name Charlotte?
I really want. My name is different, and
Say it again. How did you get? She's asking, how did you get Charlotte from?
No, I'm so curious as to what the dual middle name would have been for James.
Oh, for James. James was supposed to be James Taylor, and that was supposed to be named after my grandpa, who like did everything. So it was more of going to be a family name, you know. So it didn't have a jewel because like boys aren't jewelry like that, you know.
So.
Not precious metal.
Yeah, they're not precious like that, you know.
The chest to chest moment that you were talking about that you wish you had with Lilly, did you get to have that with Charlotte?
Yeah, we got to have that with Charlotte, and it was just like that's how I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know what it's supposed to feel like, and I got all those goods, and like, you know, Charlotte's the sweetest young girl, and like I couldn't be happier. She's like the best thing that ever happened. Probably the hardest thing that happens now is like someone says, "Oh, how many kids you got?" You know, and like, and then you're like, "Oh, I have one. I have Charlotte. You know, it's my 8-year-old." And it's like, "Oh, you only have one?" And like, you know, and like in a random conversation, those become like, how do you talk? Like, do you want to trauma dump on the stranger? You know, in a situation like this, where we're all supposed to be getting to know each other, it becomes a little bit different, you know. But like on a stranger, do I just lie? And then most of the time, that's the way. Yes, yeah, just the one.
Do you
That's
think
it,
it would be
yeah.
okay for you to say you had 2 and talk about Lilly?
I think. I mean, I do in some situations. You know, I'll say 2 and just not say that like one's not here anymore. You know,
Right.
so it's like,
When you talk about Lilly, you light up.
yeah, she's the best, dude. Yeah, like she was like, there was just something about her that. So I think that's like to tie this whole story together, and even to tie it into like where I am today. It's like I was this ambitious young man, like a lot of us are, and I knew that I was going to be something, and I already had proven that to myself. Like I'm gonna make I'm making a lot of cash, you know. Like at one point in my young life, I had millions of dollars in a safe, you know, and like I thought I was king dingaling,
Yeah.
right? You know, like I ran this mountain, you
Right.
know?
As we're learning about Lilly's life and people want to get involved, what is the best way to do that?
LillianBijouFoundation.org. My wife started a foundation in Lillian's honor. What's really unique about it is we help one kid, one family for life. That means financial relief, advocacy. We have a van we want to donate. We already have funds in account. We are looking for applicants. We would really love for them to be in the Austin, Texas area, at least our first family. But if we ever get into a surplus, we will take on another family. But this isn't to help the world or be some Make-A-Wish foundation or something like that. It's really to provide not a one-time relief, but a lifetime of support and help, not only financially, but with anything and everything that family could need for the lifetime of that child.
Can you share the Instagram and email?
Yeah, LillianBijouFoundation.org. The email would be julie@LillianBijouFoundation.org. And the Instagram is the Lillian Bijou Foundation. To tie the whole story together was like I was pretty successful before I had a kid. And then when the kid happened, I knew that like it happened for a reason, you know, like that moment when I opened that incubator door and she looked at me and I say that she looked into my soul. It was like, I was chosen to be your kid and you were chosen to be my dad, you know? And I know that I got injured and I know that you're sad about it, but I don't know any different. Okay. Like I'm just me. And I don't know that I can't do the things that you think I can do, you know, because this is just all I know. Like, yeah, y'all move around, but I don't know that I'm supposed to move around and stuff like that or not, right? So to have that perspective, it helped a lot. But it was like my job was to be her legs, to be her breath, to be her voice, right? I was supposed to give her all that. And I think Julie and I did a really great job at that. And where are we at? So at this point, when you're willing to give, like, be, I don't want to call it fully selfless, because there was a lot of selfishness to it. It was like I took a lot of pride in being her dad and making these decisions, and they felt like a part of my identity. Like I was chosen, like this is like who I am, and I'm supposed to be this person. And like if God is real, then he's asking, he's testing me, and he's saying like, hey man, like I know this happened, but everything happens for a reason in some divine way or another. And like, you're supposed to be this little girl's guiding light. And we thought we were going to be able to like take her to the moon and back. Due to Chance to Inspire, I met this beautiful, beautiful woman named Alyssa. And if you guys want to look her up, she's the coolest chick in the whole world. But on Instagram, her name is Wheel Life in the Wheel World.
Wheel life.
Wheel Life in the Real World.
In the real world.
And her name is Alyssa. And I guess someone told her about me because of the posts I was making. And when we were in Baltimore, Alyssa DMs me and we start to become friends. Well, Alyssa had a spinal cord injury from birth due to forceps. And she was in a wheelchair and a ventilator. And she was my age. Gave me a lot of hope. She lived in New York. And Alyssa had gone on a dating app and only took her headshot from her neck up. And this young man named Jimmy decided to go out with Alyssa. And when he got to the first date, he didn't say anything or act any different. And he was excited to be there. And he decided he was going to date Alyssa until his friends and his family turned and gave him all this negative connotation, made him feel horrible. And so he broke up with her. A couple weeks goes by and he didn't feel right. And so he called her back, said, hey, I'd like to apologize. Can you give me one more chance? Of course, Alyssa gives him one more chance. Now, Jimmy, he's a marathon runner. This is a dude that runs marathons. And he just says, like, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I let them get into my head. And I don't believe the way that they were trying to put the beliefs. So Jimmy decided that he was going to date Alyssa no matter what his family and friends told him. They have 2 beautiful children now. They've made news all over the country. She had 114 followers when we met. I think she has 140,000. I told her to tell her story online.
Wow.
I'm going to take that credit, Alyssa, if you watch this. I remember the conversation. We were walking we're strolling around Johns Hopkins Hospital when she came down to meet Lilly in person at the hospital and stuff like that. But Alyssa gave me like a ton of hope. So like we had this friend that had lived through something really similar, and we got to meet Alyssa's mom, and Alyssa's mom told us a story about one time they took Alyssa on a raft when she was a baby and the ventilator got wet and they had to like go to like pull off the raft and like run to somebody's back door, and they're knocking on the door. Can I get a blow dryer? And they're blow drying the ventilator, you know? And this has got to be in the 90s, you know? Like,
right.
You know, so these people were like cool and adventurous, and they weren't going to let anything stop them, and they were similar. And like when you get to meet those like other humans, you know, like we're not the only ones, you know, like y'all are trying to give me this credit, but like I guarantee a lot of you would do a lot of the same moves as me, you know, like.
Do you know what's interesting about this? And I don't know if this ever crossed your mind, but like for parents, when you have a kid, like if that happened and you were in the position that you were, which was young and successful, your first kid, you like, did you ever feel resentful? Like, why did this happen to me?
Why
me?
No, I never slipped my.
I don't mean to ask it like in an unfair way
No,
or
no,
make
no.
her
It
feel
never.
like she
It
was a
never. It
burden.
was never like what happened. Like why me? It was why her. And like why did she get this unfair advantage? And that like really, and like she's innocent. Yeah, like kids are like, there's pure innocence in children. You know, it's like little Noah was here, and like
Yeah.
you know, you were attracted to him. Like the
I
same,
know.
like there's like that feeling of like this,
Watching you hold that kid was.
there's just like when it's children, they're like there is pure innocence in the world, like innocence, like they don't know right and wrong yet, like it is just pure innocence, happiness, and joy. Huh?
When you talk about Lilly, that's what I think about. I was like, oh, the Marine Corps, like we had some horrible things happen, and so we signed up for that.
Yeah.
We knew what we were getting into. When Lilly didn't sign up for what she got.
Right. She didn't sign up for that, you know, and that makes it different. So what really happened, like, and I've never been like super religious or anything like that, but it made me like, I didn't believe in God. You know, like I'm like, you wouldn't do this. It's like proof, dude. What do you mean? This is one of your children? God's children? You're gonna like what? You know, so like who do you talk to? What do you do? Where you go? Like and so it's changed, and like I said, I was never really religious. Huh?
Did you ever pray for her?
Nah. I cheered for her. You know, no, because I didn't believe in God. You know, like why would he do that to
Do you
my
now?
I don't know. I believe in a higher power of some kind because I wonder how we're all here. But like that's why I was interested. I like you're Jewish, and then Chris is LDS.
Yeah.
You know, and like getting to talk to y'all, I've always believed like, is it really God or Jesus or whatever? And like I know this is like a pretty powerful subject for a lot of people, or like a sensitive topic or whatever. But like, if there's Buddhists and Jewish and Christians and saints and Catholics and all that, what is the real one? Like, what's the real, like, so is there a higher power? And like, there are all these other books and like the way of religion and stuff like that. So I'm interested in it, you know, but I don't know.
This is what God wanted, and this is
Man.
you know, as horrible as it is, it maybe molded you into the person you are, and it gave you an experience.
That's it.
You know, and
At the expense of her?
But yeah, you know, it
It's
is
tough,
hard.
yeah.
It's tough. But I think that it's
I was like, give me a different lesson, bro.
yeah,
You know, I could have taken a different one.
yeah. for
You know,
sure.
she could have too, for sure.
So is it hard for you to believe in God because of what happened?
Yeah, and then like the end of the story is as bad as the beginning.
What was the end of the story?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, at this point, like we're not gonna give up. We're gonna beat down every door and like give Lilly the best quality of life known to man. Like it doesn't matter if this hospital's not good, if this place isn't good. If I started a business, I'll start a different one on the next place. So then that's kind of what happened. Is like
Even now that she's gone, like she's still here.
yeah, she's yeah, dude, she's right here. You know, like I think that probably brings me closer to some kind of higher divine or higher spirit or whatever
She
it
drives
is. Like
you. I can see it. She drives you.
she drive. There's a lot of drive, but it also comes with a lot of confusion because I really don't. It's like I don't know what I'm supposed to be here for anymore, you know. And I'm here like at this mastermind with you
You know what
guys.
you're here for.
Yeah. But like,
You're here to be you, Jim.
yeah. How do I make money being me, dog?
Continue. Okay, let's continue with the story.
All right, so at the end of the day, no matter what happens at this point, as y'all can tell, like my life and my career, I'll always be okay. You know, like I'm going to figure it out one way or the other. At the end of the day, I got 2 beautiful little girls. I got a beautiful wife. I got a supporting family. I got some good friends. But I just live a little different life. I can't go hang out with the homies. There's no going out anymore. Like it is the 4 of us all time. There's no date nights. I'm talking for 7 years. No dates. No. I never rode in a car alone with my wife for 7 years, you know, until the day my daughter died. Right? Like, just think about that. You like were married to someone and you never got in a car alone, just you and them for 7 years. to go somewhere.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's like that was a hard thing. Like even on our marriage, like it was a little like, you know, there was a lot of pressure with that. Like, how do you date? How do you love and stuff like that? Like where's the passion and things, you know?
Was the first time that you rode in a car with your wife when your daughter died?
Well, since before we had kids.
Yeah.
You know?
How did that feel?
Sad, you know, because at that point, like we didn't view Lily the way everyone else viewed her. You know, we were even blind. There was one instance in Austin when Lily was about 2 years old after we got back there, where we went to an emergency room visit, and man, it was a really bad doctor, and Lily was having some problems, but her trach tube was clogged. There was some stuff in it and they couldn't get it out. It was too thick. And they needed to do an emergency trach change. No, just an emergency trach change. So just a different one, pop it in there or whatever, but they didn't have one. So then like they bring in this doctor that's like an adult ENT, and he's like, oh, well, I was in the Marines or whatever, I'm gonna make one. And so dude comes and rigs something up, and we're like, we're in a pediatric, like we're not in the middle of the fucking desert, bro. It's Austin, Texas. Like, go to the other hospital and find one. What's happening here? You know, like, yeah, like go to Houston, go to Dallas, whatever it is. Like, get us a goddamn trach. But no, this dude, like, they were acting like it was adamant. It had to happen. She wasn't going to be able to breathe. So he ends up making one out of some things or whatever. But it's like has a sharp 45-degree point on the end of it. And when he goes to stab it in, he stabs it in, and she just starts bleeding out of her lungs and all that stuff. She's still 2. But Lily was really smart up at this point. Like, her brain was still there to us. And that moment she changed. I had to cuss the hospital out, have them transfer us to a different hospital. Their pediatric department at St. David's North shut down after this. They literally shut it down. It was a really traumatic experience, but Lily like had a brain, and I'm not saying she didn't, and she ended up getting a lot more cognitive later on, but it like messed up her cognitive ability because she lost oxygen for too long. And that we saw like some life diminish out of her eyes for probably the months, years after that. You can even look, I can show you pictures on my phone and you can watch the change. But she ended up coming back around, and we ended up moving to Colorado. Colorado was great. Ended up partnering with that company, and now we had like, we got 3 locations. We're in Austin, Phoenix, and Denver, and like we're still doing things. And like, so now it's like, I'm a part of something again. I'm building business, got my kid, got my family. We're doing good. We started building a house out there, and then freaking Lily, man, the wheelchair and the snow, they just didn't mix real well, you know? And so we were like, we moved here to be like able to go outside. That's why we left Texas, because we were stuck inside during the summer, and now in the winter out here. And then like, I don't know if you lived in Denver. Yeah. It can get hot in the summer sometimes.
Oh yeah. Really hot.
Like it'll get up to 100 degrees, high 90s in the summertime. And you're like, dude, I thought this is like, you know, like, so now it's like there's like these hot summer days. There's spring and fall are gorgeous and beautiful and everything, and like it's always gorgeous. But like the weather conditions there were bad too. So it was like, all right, where are we going next? You know,
San Diego.
I went to Carmel.
Okay,
real close.
Real close.
Real close.
Yeah.
My wife always says, I wish we would have gone a little further south.
Yeah.
me and Lily loved the little cooler weather,
Yeah.
and Julie and Charlotte were more like, we could go for a little bit warmer. So yeah, we went to the Central Coast out there in California, like Monterey Bay area and Carmel.
Was Lily a daddy's girl?
I like to think so. My wife might argue, but yeah, she was just.
Did your wife do the hook?
Nah, that was our thing, and like I was telling Trent, like there was this. Trent has a cool tattoo on his arm, and I asked him about it, and I'm like, "What's the 25?" And you tell the story because it's great, and I'll tap into mine after.
Okay. Well, when my son was 3, he thought that 25 was the biggest number because that's what he could count to. And so when I tucked him in that bed, he would say, I love you 25. And to him, obviously, that was infinity, biggest number he could count to. So for his whole life, we just say, I love you 25. So this literally says, Zev, I love you 25.
So I know.
You two are very similar.
Yeah, so I know that's why I said like an episode of Step Brothers. Like, did we just become best friends? You know, like come on, you know.
No nuts on the drum set though.
So Lilly, the number was 38. And Lilly was allergic to a lot of things because of like her injury and stuff like that. It just like kind of like caused a lot of issues when it came to allergies and stuff. So coffee, peanut butter, all kinds of like stuff like that. So my wife, if you like touched her in the wrong way, she would break out in like these welts and stuff like that. Well, I had this hidden secret with the hook. You know, when I would go in there early in the morning, she'd hook me in and we did 38 kisses. And so I'd give her 38 kisses. And that was like
sharing when you said we hooked her in and you would smell her.
Yeah, so like Lilly only had that right arm, right? Like that was it. And that right arm was like personality. Like it wasn't just the facial expressions. Like her right arm would tell us like what she wanted. Like if like you put something like on her chair or on her head, like fling that thing away. Or like, you know, if her sister was bothering her, she would like raise her arm up real high and like stretch it out and then just go pop, you know, and like slam it down. And I was like telling, hey, you better back up, you know, like she just had all this she had this personality and stuff. And like, man, she was going to be a big kid. She was born 8 weeks premature and she was 20 inches long, you know? She was going to be my like little basketball player, my little athlete. And Charlotte's like my little artist. And so I'm losing 38 kisses. Yeah, so 38 kisses. So I would get up early in the morning to go to the gym before work and all that kind of stuff. So I'd leave the house about 4:30, and I would just tell Julie, like, Lily's always up, you know, when I leave. And she's like, no, she's not. No, she's like, she's passed out when I get up at 6:37. She's always passed out. And I was like, she might go back to sleep, but she's up. Like, she knows I'm leaving. And like, so every morning I peek my head in and like do that little like, you know, and it's kind of dark. She's got her vent makes a little light, and she's got like her heart monitor and all that makes a little light. So like you can still see each other, but it's like dark, you know? And she like, you know, like had this big old smile on her face and be like grinning ear to ear at you, you know? And I was like, oh, I'm coming. And she was like, you know, he ain't coming. And I go to the right side of her bed, you know?
So she was a daddy's girl.
Oh yeah, she'd raise that arm up, and I get that arm, and we called it the hook. It was like her hook. So we'd like get in arms, and then she would, a lot of times we would roll her onto her left side. So she didn't get bed sores. And every night, every 2 hours, the whole time Lily was born, her entire life, every 2 hours we woke up and we would put a log roll underneath her left side or her right side. But at that rotation, she was always on her, like kind of more of her left side. So my job.
The hook reminds me of Nemo, like Finn.
Yeah. Charlotte has written a book. It's like a Lily the Ladybug, and Lily the Ladybug only has one wing. And it's a really cute story. We're supposed to bringing it to life. But anyway, I would get in that hook, and she'd be laying on her left side, and then she would just give everything she got and yank me over, you know, and like pull me over because she was over there already, and she kind of pull me to the side. And so I'd fall into it, and I'd snuggle my face up inside of her, and you just get that full whiff of her hair and her neck, and just like, and you could like hear her ventilator in your ear, and there was so much peace and serenity that came from that sound. It was hard to sleep for long. I had to sleep with a sound machine, and I like pure silence when I sleep. For the first year and a half after she passed, I had to have like really big white noise in the room because it sounded like her ventilator, and it helped me. And anyway, so I'd pull in, I'll give you 38 kisses. And she'd be like, you know, you're not, you know, and I'd give her to him anyway. And then she'd just grin ear to ear. I was like, all right, I got to go to work. You have a good day. And she slept with a blanket over her head, like one of those little bitty, like the blankets that are like real thin and like this, you know. We would fold it in a triangle. I'd pop it like that, and then I'd drape it and like pull it from the back of her head and like over just right here over her eyes where it was dark. And then she'd go like this. and then pull it down a little bit more, you know, over herself. And that was like, all right, bro, night, you know, like I'm going back to bed. Just wanted to say, you know, have a good day, you know. And that was our moment for a long time. But when you try to give Lily kisses any other time, and I'm really sorry about this, Julie, but it was like we weren't supposed to do it because she would break out into a rash. And so I never told Julie she would be like, hey, Lily has a rash right here. Did you kiss her or something this morning? I'm not me. Shoot, no, that wasn't me. And it wasn't until after she passed, I was like, I gave her 38 kisses every freaking morning. And it's like that. I don't know, when I saw that and like you told me that story, there was like this like instant connection because like there was a number for us too.
Yeah.
And I don't know where 38 came from, bro. But it's been 38 for a really long time. That wasn't a favorite number or anything. It was like, but that's, it takes a long time to give 38 kisses, and you do that every morning. And it was just like this really special moment. But she would, then she'd go back to sleep and I'd go to work. And that was kind of our gambit. And we still have that same house. That Lily, we ended up moving back to Texas and all that stuff after Lily passed. But we kept her house kind of as like a tomb. But
So you said that the end was just as traumatic as the beginning, and I'm dreading asking you this question, but how did your daughter die?
so we'll get back into some sad if you guys are ready.
Did Lily talk at all?
So Lily couldn't talk. She had what was called a Toby eye gaze. And so Julie was a badass at training her on this, and we worked with two different types of speech pathologists and all that stuff. And PT would come to the house, OT would come to the house, and all that kind of gambit. But it was a eye gaze machine, so it was a little bit bigger than an iPad, and it could track her eyes. And then like you could put words in there, you could put sentences in there, you could put phrases in there, and it could jump from page to page. So you could be like, I want to watch Moana, Mickey Mouse. And like, so we knew what her favorite songs were, her music videos, her cartoons, those kind of things. And we had scenes set up for her, and she would speak through the Toby eye gaze, and she got pretty dang good at it. But for the most part,
Was Moana her favorite?
No.
I knew every word to Moana at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Every word.
Yeah.
That and Frozen 2.
Chancellor's her favorite.
Now, Frozen was a good
Frozen
one.
was a good
Frozen
one.
was the last movie watched in the van on our way to Lake Tahoe. Yeah. Last movie we watched together. And yeah, so Lily loved a lot of if the Disney movie had pretty singing in it had to have music.
That's what she liked.
So any of the ones that had big music and stuff like Little Mermaid and things like that, Frozen, Moana, like those were her favorites. If it didn't have singing within like the first 5 minutes, she'd go like and make this like god awful face because she really couldn't cry. And that was just her like letting you know, like, you better turn this off or I'm going to make my alarm go off and get a fake tear going out, And so then that was like how she spoke to us and let us know what to change. And so Lily lived a really cool, good life. We had a big old 40-foot motorhome that was a handicapped motorhome, and it had a lift in it so it could go, and Lily could roll from the front to the back of this motorhome. It was made for handicapped people, and Julie could fall asleep, Charlotte could fall asleep, but Lily's seat, well, there's, the captain's chair and the co-captain's chair, and Lily, where her wheelchair had straps to lock down, was pretty much right, like a little bit behind her, but right there in the middle. And it was like a, Class A motorhome, so it has the big square front or whatever. And so I drive cross country in this thing, and we go to all the national parks, Disneyland, all this fun, and take Lily with us. And Lily could sit there, not watch no TV, listen to no music or anything, and just watch the scenery. And she was like my little road warrior. We were just like, like, what's up, dude? Get some daps, and like just like cruise it, kick it down the road. People would fall asleep, and she would just like so mesmerized with the beauty of nature and things like that, or one of her favorite things to do. And they would even say on her little Toby is like, I want to sit and watch the birds fly outside the window. And like we always tried to live in a place similar to this, where it was like, you're up on top of a hill, it's got a little bit of views. Like Lily loved the sunset, she loved the sunrise. So like those are my favorite things to this day now. It's like I get that moment, it's like twice a day I can go outside and I can connect with my kid, because if God is real, he gave us this big beautiful thing, and that's how we connect, And so Yeah, so Lily's living a good life. There's a lot of in between that we didn't get into, but you guys don't want to sit here and hear all my story the whole time. So we on my 35th birthday, we're living out in Carmel, and I was like, dude, let's take Lily to Lake Tahoe. We had just gotten this bike and we were super excited about it. It was made in Germany. It was like a unicycle, but then like I can't think of it, but like you were talking about like a chariot, it'd have like the sticks that come out the front that like you would hold, and then had sticks that poles that came out the back that had the brakes on it.
Sure.
So like one person would go in the front and carry it, and one person would go in the back, but we could actually go on hikes. Me and my wife's favorite thing, we like to hike and stuff, and like, hike mountains and go see pretty stuff and go camping, stuff like that. And so we were like, oh, we'll go to Lake Tahoe, and we had these trails mapped out, and we had found a way. This thing was made for people in wheelchairs, but not on ventilators. But I'd made like this mount, and we were going to mount the ventilator on the back on the back of this chair, and we were going to go take her on this hikes. So for my 35th birthday, I rented a VRBO, a little like, it was like a nice condo and had a pool, and we were going to go down there and spend 2 weeks. And I was just going to work from home, but then we were going to go hang out. It's going to be a great time. So we make the drive. It's about a 6-hour drive. And we get there, and usually you got to Lily, catheterize her so she pees, bladder doesn't fill up too much, and she get a UTI. And so we usually stop, but we had so much stuff in the van that we didn't have anywhere to lay her down. So we're like, we're just going to book it. We're going to get there as fast as we can. We're going to lay her down. When we get there, we'll get her catheterized, do our thing. And when we pull up to the VRBO, it's a shack. It's supposed to be like these big, nice condos with the pool, and it's a shack on a lot. It's abandoned. No one lives there. I go knock on the door. I'm like, what the heck? Like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be staying. Like, what's going on? I get on the phone with VRBO, like messaging and all that stuff. And like, they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Go rent a hotel and we'll credit you the money back or whatever, So then we're like, oh, shoot. So this point, we're like, really got to get laying down, because like that took another hour. So now we're like 7-8 hours in. She hasn't been able to pee. So then we go, and I think we go to like Hard Rock, or if y'all are familiar with Tahoe down there or whatever. We like go to like Hard Rock Casino or something. But we start to roll in, and it smells like cigarettes, like really strong. And I'm not going to bring my kid in a ventilator through like a cigarette spot. So we're like, all right, let's try the one across the street. So then we go across the street, and it's like, okay, it smells better over here. And then we like start getting her in. And it's like, oh, their wheelchair lift is broken. So then we can't get her up. We can't get her up the stairs. So like, oh, you could take her around back. So then Julie has to like literally wheel her in a wheelchair all the way around back. And like Lily when we traveled like that, that's why the van was so full. It was like, we rolled with the rolling hospital. We had everything, defibrillator, all the things, always with us. And so I get the pop out wagon, pop it out, start loading it up, strapping down all the medical equipment, all the luggage. And Julie's trying to wheel Lily in, and we try to get the room. And, so another hour or so goes by. We finally make it in, get to the hotel room, and now Lily's heart rate's super elevated. I'm like, gosh, like get her catheterized, huge pee, all right, we're going to be all right. We got her pee, everything's good. And then we're like, oh, it's getting pretty late. Let's just chill. We're not going to do anything tonight. Let's give the girls some rest, and we'll just start our adventure tomorrow. And then Lily's heart just started elevating and elevating and elevating. And I was so tired. Like I'm just like, I'm tired by this point. We're like getting to midnight. I think I went down and I might have had a beer or two. I asked Julie if she wanted one. And I was like, I'm gonna go down and get a beer. I'll bring it back up. You want me to get you one? And she said, no, I'm okay. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm on vacation. It's my birthday trip. We're back in Lake Tahoe, which is where Lily was named.
Right.
After. So like 7 years later, we're back here, go have a beer, come back upstairs, heart rate's still going up. I'm like, gosh, you think we need to call the hospital? And she's like, not yet. Maybe we'll, give her this breathing treatment, and we'll do this and we'll do that. We do all the things, and it gets to like, I don't know, 1 a.m, and Lily's heart rate at this point, it's like in the 200s. and we can't get it to go down, or alarms are going off every 3 minutes. And it's like, all right, it's time. Like, we're start doing the research on like where we're gonna go. So we're gonna go to Reno, or we're gonna go to Sacramento. Sacramento's a little further. Reno's a different state. Which one? Are they gonna life flight us? You're gonna go the ambulance. You know, you're kind of like a mountain town, right? So make the call. Ambulance comes. I don't know if you guys ever called an ambulance or had to call 911 for anyone, but the fire department always makes it there first. Shout out to the firefighters. They're literally the lifesavers, you know. Always get there first. They're always better. They're always kinder than any EMS. Like, I don't know why it's like that, but in the 25 times we ever called, the firefighters are always the and so they get there, EMS gets there, and obviously now it's like, oh, I got this little girl on a ventilator, and they're always pretty, like, they're never happy about it, you know, like, oh, it's not just an old person or a sick person, or, you know what I mean? Like, the ventilator always kind of scares them or whatever. One dude was pretty much a stud, and we're like, oh, cool, we got a stud, you know, we got somebody that knows what the he's doing. And so that made us feel a little like, all right, where do we go? We don't know which one's better, which one has the better hospital. And he's like, I mean, you know, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other, bro. Like, you know, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. One is closer. Let's get her to that one. So they choose Reno. We go over there. And this is like post-COVID at this point. You know, it's 2023, June 4th, June 3rd. I guess it's the 4th going into it. And 6 days before my 35th birthday. And get to the emergency room. People are somewhat friendly and stuff, but we're veterans when it comes to emergency rooms and hospitals, and the good doctors, the bad doctors, the good hospitals, the good care centers, the good office staff, administrative, like you could spot it. It's almost like you guys spotting a good business or a bad one. Like, I don't need but a couple minutes and I can tell you if it's worth the shit or not, you know? And we felt it, and it wasn't good, and we weren't supposed to be there. And so then Julie's like in a frantic. She's like, there's evil in the room. Can you feel it? I'm like, yeah, I could feel it. And she's like, it's like it's heavy. And I was like, I know, you know. And now, you know, Charlotte's gone to the hospital plenty with us, which is my little girl, you know, like Lily's little sister. Charlotte's gone plenty of times, spent too many nights in a hospital room with us, taking care of her little sister. And granted, like, when you have a sister like Lilly as Charlotte, you always come second. Your whole life you come second. You're never first. Like, you have to play second. And that's really sad, you know. So like, as much as I always like to say, I was like, Lily's like, Julie was a better caretaker to Lilly because I had to go back to work eventually, right? So Julie was Lily's caretaker. Julie has multiple degrees. She's very, very intelligent. She wanted to be a doctor herself. And that's probably why we survived in the hospitals as long as we did, because Julie was so smart. And then she would just tell me what to say so we could get through to the doctors. You know what I mean? And so at this point, we're feeling like super heavy, but Charlotte's there. And it's post-COVID, so they won't really let us, like, they're letting us in the emergency room, but they want to take her to get a CAT scan and all these scans, and they won't let both me and Julie back, and they definitely won't let us back there with another kid. And so, like, yeah, I mean, due to COVID restrictions, we can't let y'all back there, you know? And so by this time, it's like, you know, 4:35 in the morning, and it took them like probably 35 times to stick Lilly and get an IV in her. But just because she was a hard stick, you know, like she didn't have any muscle tone. You couldn't really see vascular. And like, you know, they always had to send their best poker to try to find it with the light and all that stuff. And they had finally got her on IVs, and she was really settling. So by the time I felt that she was settling and she's doing better, heart rate's coming back down, like we're feeling good, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to take Charlotte to the car. And they let me borrow a blanket, and I'm going to let her get some sleep. You know, I'll turn the car on, put some music on, and let her get some sleep. And Julie's like, all right, I'll call you if anything changes. I'm like, all right, yeah, give me a call. And it wasn't very long. Charlotte couldn't sleep. I couldn't really sleep. The sun starts coming up. It's probably 6 in the morning. And Charlotte's like, oh, Dad, look at the sun. And like I said, like the sunrise and the sunsets is kind of our thing. And so I'm like, oh, you want to watch the sunrise? So I opened the back hatch of the van and I like lower the seat down and put a little blanket down. And we're just going to lay there and watch the sunrise together. And just wait for Mom to give us a ring. And then Julie calls. And she's like, you have to get in here. Something's happening. Like, they took her back for the CAT scan, but they took her back for the CAT scan, but they won't let me back there. They're not letting me back, Chance. Like, and I can hear the beeps in the background. They're not letting me back. They always let me back because when you're on a ventilator, like someone needs to watch the ventilator. So they always let us stay. Like even x-rays and all, one of us always gets to stay with Lily no matter how dangerous the room is because Lily's in a wheelchair on this vent. And so like, we always get to stay. And she's like, no, they pushed me out. Like they pushed me out and they won't let me back. And the alarms are beeping and no one is doing anything. They are just still proceeding with the CAT scan. All of her alarms are going off. They have been locked out. I'm looking through this window and they're not letting me back there. And so I close the door, Charlotte, run inside. By the time I get inside, they're calling code blue. I can hear it over the announcements and they're like, it's blah, 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 come, And I'm like, I need back there. I'm yanking on the doors. They won't let me back because I have Charlotte. They're like, oh, no kids back there. And I'm like, the code blue is my kid. Like, I need back there. And they're like, sorry, sir, without that kid. So at this point, I'm kind of hulking out. And I'm starting to kick the door down, And then here comes security and all this stuff. And I'm just cussing everybody out. And I'm like, that's my kid. Let me through these doors before I somebody. Let me through the doors. God damn it. And a nurse comes out and she said, hey, I was with y'all in the emergency room earlier. I can watch her if you let me, please. And so this nurse, stranger, takes Charlotte. I'm like, thank you so much. And they buzz me in. They let me back. Go up a couple floors by this time, I guess they had rolled Lily up to the pediatric, the ICU up there. I run through the doors, same room, all the doctors, all the respiratory therapists, all the people. My wife's screaming. They forgot to plug her oxygen back in. They forgot to put her oxygen back on. She was on 10 liters of oxygen. She never was on oxygen unless she was sick. She always had it. We always had a tank with us, multiple tanks, and we had an oxygenator where we could refill the tanks. But she was never on it. She lived on room air. She just needed the ventilator to breathe for her. And then if she was sick, sometimes she had to supplement a little oxygen. But we were up to 10 liters, which is kind of the max on our tanks. You can go 15 liters on the wall in the hospitals. But they forget they didn't plug her oxygen in. So the whole time they had wheeled her from the emergency room to the CAT scan room, doing a CAT scan, watching her monitor beep and beep and beep, saying she was dropping. The nurses, the respiratory therapists, the doctors, they're doing nothing. They're just following standard protocol and just doing nothing like she's a normal patient, It's this is a kid on a ventilator that's here for respiratory issues and heart rate issues. Figure it out. The CAT scan's not important at this point. We don't even know why y'all are giving her a CAT scan. And Julie's just screaming that they forgot. And she's so mad. And she's like, they're killing her. And so I walk around the corner. And I'm sorry for my language on your podcast, buddy. But I walk around the corner and it's just, a room full of doctors and nurses and all that. And there's a nurse just pressing on her chest like she was doing it to me or you, a grown man. And this is a kid that was born with no bone density, never was able, she's premature, she was ever able to like develop muscle structure or anything like that. She's just growing bones and skin in this body, but never able to develop muscle, you know, just skin and bones pretty much, you know, sweet as could be and beautiful, but skin and bones. And this woman is deciding that I'm going to give her CPR like I'm a 250-pound man, and just compressing on her. So by the time I turn the corner and I see my kid, her eyes are rolled in the back of her head, and there's just blood coming through her trachea. And they just crushed her to death. And they said, Julie says she's already dead, Chance. I couldn't call it. You have to do it. I said, what the do you mean? I just left. She was good. She was settled. They got the IV and she was getting fluids. Her heart rate was, what do you mean? I don't understand. I don't understand. And they're like, what do you want us to do? And now they're just looking at me like they're perturbed with me because I'm not calling it. And this girl's just going like, and the dude's like squeezing a bag, and they're just looking at me like, are you going to let us stop working? Like, please do, like, what the do you say? What do you do? I don't know. What am I supposed to say? She just I said, can I fucking hold her? Never held her off a ventilator before. And I said, yeah. Are you gonna call it? So we called it. They left the room and I got to pick her up. I stayed with her for a little while. I don't even know where Charlotte is. And then we do our thing and we say the goodbyes. Now you gotta go tell your baby girl that her sister's not coming home with her. How the f*** do you do that? How are you supposed to say that? How are you supposed to tell her? Yeah, we were just here, we're coming on vacation, we're gonna go on this hike, it's gonna be beautiful, we're gonna have so much fun, we're gonna spend 2 weeks out here, it's gonna be the greatest time. And she said, but Daddy, where's Lily? Where is she? I don't understand. Man. So we decide to leave. And got this little girl who was just going on a great vacation for her daddy's birthday. She's amped. Gonna go hiking. We got this coolest wheelchair from Germany that we had bought and rigged up. We're gonna hike as a family. And she's just not getting it. So I wanted to distract her. We hadn't been to sleep. I'm like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, let's go to the beach in Lake Tahoe. This little beach. Let's take Charlotte to the beach. Let's let her play in the sand. Let's listen to the waves. Let's just figure out what the plan is from here, because we don't know what the f- to do. How does this happen? Like, what do you do with your daughter? She dies in Reno. You don't even live there. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you figure this out? So we go to the beach. There's a story that I said in the beginning that Lilly had this plushie, right? She used to hit that plushie.
Ladybug.
It was a ladybug. We called Lilly Lillybug. And we go to the beach. Like I said earlier, we named Lillian Bijou, and that's what Bijou builds, and is after. And it was called The Town of Bijou. And I don't know if that's a full circle moment and that's maybe where God's real. You know, maybe. And life happens in these 7-year cycles, if y'all have ever heard those kind of things and stuff like that. And like maybe it is all for some weird up reason. But we go to the beach. We're sitting there with Charlotte, and Charlotte's playing in the sand, and she's finally starting to giggle and laugh. A ladybug lands in her hair. And it stays there for 45 minutes. It's like she was just saying, like, I did my best, but I'll be okay. Don't worry. And that's Lillian's story, man. And since that day, I've just been lost and confused. And June 4th of this year will be 3 years. And you'd think that that was like a long time and you get over it and like things get easier. And it just really just comes in waves, man. It doesn't really get any easier. In one moment I'm just fine. In 1 minute I'm crying like a baby. And that's just how the world works. And I don't know when it is over, if it's ever over. But all I know is like, man, I had 7 badass years, one of the coolest kids in the whole world. And knowing how you are, you would have really dug her. She was a cool kid, man. Yeah. And when business happened after that, I called all my people and, you know, said whatever. And by this point, we had kind of taken the business to the next level. And we were in 5 states and we were really going. I partnered with these dudes and we were building a big thing. We had it well over 8 figures and we had softwares and all this fun. My business partner was a pretty cool dude and he made this really beautiful thing for Lily's funeral. He had his tattoo artist airbrush one of Lily's like prettiest photos when she was a princess on her birthday, and he airbrushed it. And I was like, man, I'm so glad I got good people in my corner. And I felt really proud of that. And I had good people, and I was like, man, I'm gonna take some time. I need some time, you know. And 30 days go by, and we go down to visit them where they live. And his wife and my wife are hanging out, and they had kids about the same age as my kids. And the Charlotte and their daughter are playing and all that. And me and my partner, we go to probably some conference or something, just trying to. It's about a month later, and his wife says to my wife, "Yeah, he's really worried that Chance isn't going to get back to work. Like, when is Chance going to get back to work? It's like he's really worried about it." And when Julie told me that, I just kind of, yeah, everything changed, and my whole dynamic and principles and it all changed, and like my thought process. I'm like, man, I thought you did support me, and like, and I brought it up, and he's like, nah, it's not like that, but it's like, you know, like, when is it right? When's the right time? Like, you know, like, you're a big part of this. Like, we need you back to work, you know, like, not trying to say like, you know. But it was, in my opinion, and his opinion's probably different. It was just kind of like, it wasn't there anymore, you know? Like, I just needed some time, man. Like, let me find myself, let me correct myself. I promise I'll be back. Maybe not the same capacity, but I'll come back, you know? I'll be better than ever. Just let me fix it. And there was too much pressure, and so then I just walked away. And no, you can have it. I don't give a I go do something different. And so I walked away. Yeah, man. Now we're here.
Thank you for sharing that. That was tough for everybody. And I just want to say that you are the embodiment of a father's love. And when I look into your eyes, I see pure love. And she was very grateful to have a dad like you.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Trending friends, brother.
Now I want to hug you too.
Sorry to be a drab to everybody.
It's such a beautiful story. Thank you.
Sure. Let's put it out to the world now. There's a bright side to the story. The bright side is that it was similar to what I said throughout that. But like, man, Lilly she was hurt, you know? And I think a lot of times we take a really lot of little bitty things for granted. And I think that if, like, everyone always tells me, like, if you could learn one thing, and if I could pick one word, it'd be perspective.
Yeah.
You know, because she gave me a perspective and let me see life through a different lens. You know, because, you know, if you ever saw a kid as happy as that, you know, playing with their little sister, moving her arm, you know, Charlotte's messing with her, copying her and everything. This is 6 days before she died.
That's amazing.
She was just happy, man. She was a cool kid.
That's the same eyes as you.
Constant smile. Crooked ass smile, but constant.
We just finished the podcast and learned about Lilly's life. And I think, speak for myself and everybody, we're all moved. If we want to learn more about this and get involved, what is the best way to do that?
What we're doing, the foundation a little bit different than most, is the Lillian Bijou Foundation is built to help one kid, one family for life. We really would love the kid to be in Austin or in the Texas Hill Country. We launched the foundation in March. Lily's birthday is March 29th. She would have turned 10 years old. So we, on the 28th, we threw the first gala-ish. We raised a good amount of money. We're going to be donating a van and some medical equipment. I think we raised a little over $30,000 so far, and we are taking applicants for our first family. We know what it's like. We've been through the struggles, and sometimes I had to go back to work and Julie had to stay home, and we didn't have nursing. And like, if we had more money, could we have hired private nursing when the state or the insurance couldn't have found us nursing? Or if Lilly had to go to rehab and I wanted to go as well, but I couldn't work and then still pay the bills. So we'll be able to help with maybe their mortgage while they're gone, the car notes, the insurance, offset some of the bills while they're stuck in the ICU sometimes. So we are there to not only advocate for the kid, find them the best specialists, help them with the doctors, be a financial relief, be support. But like, you know, we'll go take our motorhome and go park it next to the lake and bring the kid and the family out there, let them stay in the motorhome and get a camping experience. Like I said, we have a van, a handicap van to donate. We're just looking for the right family right now. So if anyone knows a good family with a special needs child and a family, we want good parents. We want to be involved, very involved with this kid and this family. And in order to do that, we have to morally agree with how they parent.
Yep.
Or it won't work.
Okay.
So we're looking for the right family that just needs a little bit of help. That could be a single mom. It could be a single dad. LillianBijouFoundation.org is the website. You can see my wife's email on there. That's Julie@the and you can get on there, and there's still ways to donate or apply. If you go on there, there's some links and all that good stuff. Give us a follow on Instagram, DM us. We would love any applicants or any other kind of support that anyone is willing to give.